Let's get going. I will call the January 24th, 2023 regular meeting of the Mill Creek City Council to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would Councilmember Allison lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Naomi, roll call, please.
Mayor Holtzclaw,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vanel,
Here.
Councilmember Cavallari,
Here.
Councilmember Steckler,
Here.
Councilmember Allison,
Here.
Councilmember Duque,
Here.
Councilmember Paddock.
Present.
Okay, audience communication this evening. Ms. Heidel, step forward and then I'll move to anyone online. Name, address, in 3 minutes, please.
Barb Heidel, 1401 144th Place, Southeast Mill Creek. Thank you, Mayor. I wish all of you council members and staff a successful, fruitful retreat. May you be productive, collaborative, respectful, and willing to hear everyone's ideas, suggestions, questions, and concerns. Good luck, and may these 2 sessions be enjoyable, enlightening, and inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Okay, is there anyone online that would like to address the council? This is the one and only opportunity this evening. Going once, twice. I do not see Mr. Nelson on there anymore. Okay,
He got bumped off, so.
he was, okay. Okay, should I just roll right into the agenda? Okay. Welcome to our 2nd annual council planning retreat. I'm hoping that this will become a fixture annual event for the council when all, oh, there we go. When all of us are no longer on here. I think this is important for 3 reasons. One, obviously, we set our priorities for the year and for the city manager and his leadership team, and it's how we have city manager every year. It's how the public gauges us. Not just the staff and the city as a whole, but the council. I think it's important that we let the public know what we're doing and what we're trying to do. I think oftentimes we, in my 10 years on the council, we seem to be reactive. We react to the issue of the day and we don't spend enough time being proactive and having a North Star where we want to aim so that we keep moving that direction, even though we have squirrels that pull us off in one direction or the other during the course of the year. So I look forward to our discussion. Had technical difficulties. Did you want to say anything during audience communication? You weren't on the screen when we got to that. You have to unmute. We can't hear you. We had audience communication this evening and I went online and you to people on virtual and you weren't on the screen. I think you got bumped out. So I wanted to give you an opportunity if you wanted to say.
Yeah, I'd like to say a couple of words. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
Okay. My thanks to Mayor Pro Tem Stephanie Vignall for her comments on House Bill 1110. It pointed out to us that the Mill Creek Community Association will pretty much get most of what it wants regarding
Will, I think
housing.
we're losing your internet. You're cutting in and out. So we're hearing about every third word.
Ask him to turn off his video.
Yeah, can you turn off the video and let's go with the audio.
Let's forget it then. I'll talk at some other time.
Okay, thank you, Will.
Okay, how's that doing? Is that better? Can you
Yes,
hear
it
me?
is.
Continue?
Did you want to continue or do you want?
I'm losing you guys, so
Okay.
I'll just listen and you guys go on.
Okay, thank you, Will. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have any opening remarks?
Thank you, Mayor. I think you covered pretty much everything. I am just so excited that we are here and we are embarking on this journey again this year. I think it's extremely important that we set our priorities for the year. It helps the community know where we hope to go, and it helps us to know where we want to focus our energy, and it helps staff to know where they should be placing their priorities too. So I'm really excited that we are starting to make this an annual habit. Thank you.
With no further ado, Mr. Ballard.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joe, for rescuing me. I'm supposed to be a technology expert. It's laughable. I gotta tell you how really full of gratitude I get to be with you again. We were all together in March and you produced, 2 full days of work in less than 6 hours. And it's an elegant product. How's that? And you produced an elegant product. You just did great work. So I'm really excited to take it to the next step and to be here and join you. My orientation hasn't changed. My job as facilitator is in service to every one of you. I'm not the boss. I am just here to help you be a good steward of all of your time. So we've done our opening remarks. Thank you very much, Brian and Stephanie. So let's go ahead and jump in. You all have the agenda in your packets on page 1. And I'm not going to go into much detail into the 31st. I'll bring that up. But after we go through a few preliminaries, we're going to play a fun trivia game on the 7 of you. And I'm looking forward to that. Then we're going to do a quick Northstar review exercise. That's just kind of level setting for the product you're producing tonight, which is our long range 2026 goals. I believe Mayor, that I'm working with Kent right now, and they have a real mayor. I've got like 4 retreats going on. Well, let me rephrase that. It's not a strong council manager form of government. I'm really stepping in it today. Since we're recording, I'm not going to elaborate. Anyway, my apologies, Mayor. The point is that going to 2026, that covers 2 biennium. Is that correct? We're going to 2026. So that's 4 years. Doesn't that cover 2 biennium?
Yeah, that's 2 biennium.
Yeah, and that timing is really very purposeful. So that's why the 2026 came up. And that's pretty much it. We'll take a short break about halfway through that exercise. And then when we come back next week, we'll be doing shorter term 2023 priorities that'll be in support of, underneath, and in alignment to those long-term 2026 goals. In fact, I'm actually going to do a little bit of terms and definitions, so we're all singing on the same sheet music here. Guiding principles. I'm going to go over that really quick, very quick, because this is not our first rodeo together, and I don't want to waste your time with stuff you're aware of. Planning session objective, terms and definitions. So guiding principles, I'm not even going to go through this. You guys play really well in the sandbox. I always show this to every corporate or municipal retreat I ever do for the first time. So I will be using a parking lot if somebody has a contribution that's off agenda, but I want to capture it so it's in the report.
Andrew, you may just want to run. We have one new council member that wasn't on the council at the time of the last.
Oh, and I've
retreat,
heard
so
about him.
I know, he's a troublemaker, so it's probably worthwhile just running through them briefly.
The real crux of it is that we want everyone to participate equally and no individual or a few to dominate. And it's not only okay to disagree, I encourage it. They've heard my favorite quote from JFK. If you have 10 people on a committee and they all see the issue the exact same way, you have 9 too many people on that committee. So a civil discourse is what we're looking for. It produces a better product. We are just going to have, a civil and not a disagreeable tone. And we didn't even border on that in March. So limit sidebar conversations. You are all going to turn your phones on in a minute. But then what we'll do is we'll put our phones on mute. In other words, so they don't ring. And we are going to have a break where you can get back into that. And then I talked about the parking lot. Is that pretty much, is that good? Okay.
Yep.
So building consensus, I'll do this really quickly for Sean's benefit too. We know that building consent is not, it's general agreement, not 100%. It's, like most like it and then the rest can live with it. Sometimes we use the thumbs up, like it, thumb sideways. I can live with it, thumbs down, I don't like it. And as long as the thumbs up and thumbs sideways eclipse the thumbs down, then we move forward because it's a majority. If they're really close or the thumbs down is the majority, then we slow down, we stop and we discuss. Nominal group technique, been around forever. It's about, issues or opportunity identification, solutions, discussion. And finally, just really, it's about moving from discussion to decision. Everybody's opinion is heard and equal. We vote to prioritize the top solutions. In your case, you'll be prioritizing the top goals. And yes, I have my famous sticky dots. And the majority rule is simple parliamentary procedure. Planning session objectives for both days, really based on the city's Northstar, which we'll go over as soon as we complete our trivia game. We're going to set council long range 2026 goals. And then on the 31st, we'll back those up or shore them up with the short range 2023 priorities. Now in March, we did the 2022 priorities. The exercise will be identical. And we use the same approach, brainstorm, consolidate, prioritize, and frame when we do our long range goals. So nothing is really new under the sun. So just really quickly here, because we are introducing a different thing. We're introducing long-term goals, and I just want to show an example of the difference between long-term goals and short-term initiatives. Because whether it's, goal, objective, strategy, tactic, initiative, project, we all have, close but somewhat different definitions. So this will be our working definition. Again, our time horizon for the long-range goals, as we talked about, is 2026, the end of 2 biennium. It's a long-range endeavor toward achieving a significant accomplishment in support of our city's mission, vision, values. Mission and vision primarily, and that's why we use that as a North Star. Here's an example. Big thinking, eliminate I'm actually working with the city right now. I'm not going to tell you the name of really tough budget issues. Eliminate the deficit to achieve a balanced budget by 2026. So all of our goals cannot have a time horizon that's beyond the end of 2026. It can be shorter. You could say, you know what, I want this to be done by 2024. That's okay. We just can't extend beyond 2026 because that's the time horizon. So let's take a look at our short-term priorities, the ones that you did in March. Again, it's about 2023. Short-range initiative or project in support of making incremental progress toward achieving a long-range goal. And when we get to that at the beginning of next Tuesday, I'll explain that alignment and how sequencing works. I don't want to fill your head with that now. But you can, and here's an example, conduct a financial review of all operations for lean opportunities, right? I mean, when you're trying to get into, you're dealing with a budget deficit, you've only got 2 ways to go at it. You reduce expenses or you increase revenues. And most people are using a combination of both. But you can see how this is short-term, incremental, and in support of a balanced budget. So that's all. Any questions about those are really the only two moving parts that we have compared to last March. Well, we did then too, because we did our SWOT analysis. But we don't need to refresh that this soon. Everybody good? Cool. It's good to see you again, Melissa. As a facilitator, you never have favorites, but she's my favorite. I'm just channeling my experience back in March. Yeah, I think I owe him, I was gonna say lunch, I owe him dinner, I think. No, touche on that. Okay, now we're gonna play the trivia game. So I'm gonna ask you all to pull out your cell phones. And I'm gonna ask you to go to this website. It's up on the screen, Kahoot.it. This is not .com, Kahoot.it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get into the game and it'll give you a pin. There's the pin. Okay, so when you're actually logged in, enter that pin, and then it will ask you to add your name. So we can just do first names. We just want to know, I mean, it's okay to do initials, but we want to know who you are. Look at there, Sean and Melissa are up already. This interactive game, everything you do in terms of the trivia will present itself live in real time. And by the way, there is a little bit of a competitive spirit here. It will identify the top 3 winners, kind of an Olympic podium ceremony, bronze, silver, and gold. And there's a lot of fanfare and confetti. So I don't want you to feel too, stressed out on this. Sorry, Sean's up there. Are you okay on the site, John?
I'm just returning a couple emails.
I know enough to know that was a joke. Funniest thing this happened tonight.
Phones might be the best. If you just hold your camera up to that QR code, it'll get you right in there.
That's true.
Oh, my God.
Thank you, Joe.
Go on there.
Yeah, you may have to actually come out here when you have the camera, do a little bit of a zoom in.
We have screens. We have screens.
Oh, you've got your own screen. Okay.
Gotta take that green block.
Yeah, if you click on that QR code, it'll automatically enter the PIN numbers.
If you really want to play with QR codes, I have one for you.
Of course, it's only going to work as if you actually have either Wi-Fi or cell coverage, because it's still going to try to take you to a website. This is internet based. Let's start over. Do you mind if I?
Oh, please.
Okay, we're gonna close out of that.
Don't look at my browser.
No. Oh, that's a good email. There it is. So you actually are logged on. Just type in your nickname and then go okay, and you're there.
But is it still asking you? You submit every time?
Yeah, it will not ask you to log in. It is encrypted. It is secure.
What I was saying, you put your name on the screen like I'm supposed to answer.
You're in. You don't have to do a thing. But once we get into the game, see, you're going to interact between the screen up there and the screen on your phone.
We bring a lot of credibility to the council, don't we? All of us.
Big John.
Not all of us struggled.
Follow by the student moment.
So did we help Vince?
Yes, sir. Yeah, he's getting.
Oh, gotcha. But you do have connection? Okay. Are you accessing through Wi-Fi or cell? Okay, well, you should jump in quick. Because the Wi-Fi signal, there you are. Excellent. We have 100%. So we're going to go ahead and continue the game. Essentially, this is how it's going to go. All 7 of you submitted trivia questions, and I asked you to try to stump your colleagues, right? Because The questions you get right and the speed in which you get that question right will allocate points. The faster you answer the correct answer, the more points you get. By the way, if anybody exceeds 10,000 points, I will buy them a Mercedes-Benz after I take my friend Mayor Holtzclaw to dinner. I'm going to try to cover all of this at once. By the way, I'm full of beans. Maximum score is 7,000. You can't achieve 10,000. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to see a question for each one of you. Now, if you see yourself in the question, you cannot play the game. So each one of you are going to play 6 questions because one of them is you. It's going to show up. That's true. So what's going to happen is you're going to see the question and the 4 possible answers on screen. The possible answers are color coded to the colored squares on your phone. You actually vote on your phone. Yeah, you'll see the answers up here, and it's just the primary colors: red, white, blue, and I think yellow. And so no, everything will be up here. The only thing you're using your phone for is to give your answer. So if the answer, you got 4 different colors up there, and if the answer you think is correct is yellow, then you click on the yellow. Yes. Yep. And then all of your voting will happen real time up here, and you'll be able to see how you're progressing against each other. Everybody ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh. City of Mill Creek now 3, 2, 1. Yeah, look up here. What was Sean's first job in college? There's your 4 answers.
Oh, goodness.
I got creative with some of the answers here. I did try to keep them within the same genre. Oh, look at that. You've all voted. So the correct answer is sold Dove ice cream bars, actually, at Nordstrom's. Now, what we're going to do is after each question, we're going to ask that council member, in this case, Sean, who couldn't vote, to just give us the short 30-second story on this.
I sold ice cream bars out in front of Nordstrom University Town Center.
Sorry, can you speak into the mic?
Rookie.
I sold Dove ice cream bars for Nordstrom out in front of the Nordstrom store in La Jolla, University Town Center. A Dove ice cream bar is 4 ounces of premium ice cream dipped in 2 ounces of fine Belgian chocolate.
It's still, I've eaten 100 of them. They're delicious.
Yes,
And you actually, your little thing was right there at the front door, wasn't it?
my little thing was right there at the front door. I was a real ice cream man.
Cool. Okay, so let's take a look here at how this works. So Sean gave us kind of the algorithm. We're just going to kind of give a short story. Now, here we go. Here's the points. And first, you weren't supposed to vote on your own.
Oh.
Pardon me? Yeah, now everybody votes on their own, so it's fair play. And Stephanie voted the correct answer almost as quickly as Sean did. I'm more impressed with that than just about anything else. So we're going to continue to see how the tally goes. Here's the next question. What unusual experience did Vince have? By the way, 20 seconds is the maximum on all these.
Oh, Lord.
What a great picture. Well, I tried to get very creative.
I'm slow and steady wins the race.
Okay, so the correct answer was caught 2 home run balls in the same Major League Baseball game. I mean, do you know how rare it is to even catch one? My wife caught a foul ball when we were in spring training for the Mariners. But to catch a home run ball, did you catch both balls with the same hand? Tell the story.
Well, yes. So in our quest to hit all the ballparks, we've at that point, we were about 18 or 19. We were doing Arizona and San Diego back to back. And the San Diego game was a day game. And in the first inning, I caught a home run ball. And in the third inning, I caught another home run ball off of BJ Upton. It was the coolest thing ever. And Actually, I also caught a batting practice ball in that game as well. So 3 total.
Right hand was very bruised.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see what our tally is. Oh, Vince, okay, well. Well, that's all right. You know, again, everybody's gonna vote on their own score.
This is a funny
Stephanie
game.
is still in a legit, she's actually in the real first place. Cause she hasn't had a trivia question in.
I'm awesome.
I'm just laughing because Melissa and I were tied for fifth after the first question was 0 and we both answered this question correctly.
There you go. And it'll actually,
Look at the points.
pardon
You
me?
got more points for answering it correctly. than
Well,
I-
cause it's timing.
Oh, there's a time.
Yeah, I mean, getting it right gets you
Oh,
points.
you never
but the
said
fast-
that.
I did say that.
Did you? I didn't.
The faster you do it, the higher your points. Did I say that? I said that.
I missed that.
He's still ticked off at me for
That's right.
my,
I'm weak. I couldn't move fast enough.
okay, here we go. Among the many countries John has traveled to, which was his favorite? And there is a story behind the favorite. I tried to make this as difficult as possible. Who of you got it right? Before we show who, John, share, because it's a little bit more specific than just Greece.
Going down a point.
Story is that early on, when I was younger in my 20s and starting my business career, I really wanted to get married and have children someday, but I wanted to travel. And so I made a focused effort to travel the world. And I went to all of these places. And the one that struck me, and interestingly enough, it was my first, was Greece. And after I had visited places like Belgium, Sweden, France, and a few others, that there was something exotic, something hypnotic about Greece. It sent you back, and it truly was a magical land. And,
Wasn't it specifically the islands that really got you?
it was the islands. It was the islands that every one of them was, and I went to Mykonos, which is the one you'll see and think about when you think of Greece with the white buildings. But some of the other islands and the throwbacks to European culture, it was just a, and, you know, we walk down the street, we don't actually see a 5,000-year-old Colosseum, you know, between a Burger King and a McDonald's. But that's what you have in Athens, other places. It just blew me away. It was exciting. And then I knew I get married and I have children. I wouldn't be able to travel anymore. Not to those places.
There you go. Okay, let's see here. Vince. He
Doing so
is
bad,
at
I
number
don't even
one
show
by
up.
quite a bit, but do remember, he's already answered his question. And 3 of you haven't. Stephanie is still in the first legitimate place. Oh, look at this. Vincent has a streak with 3 correct answers in a row.
God.
He
I'm
is
doing
on
so
a.
bad, I
so-
don't even make the
You do
screen.
like this.
Yeah.
I thought you said this is
I'm
like
not
golf.
jumping into that one. I've already stepped in it today. Okay, here's the next question. Where was Melissa's very first job located?
Dang it.
Only one of you is right. My guess is that's Melissa. I hope.
I can't even get mine on. Keep going.
Look at that. Melissa just passed.
That's me, man.
Well, she passed you, but you haven't had your questions. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. What did Stephanie do in her first job? A lot of you got that right. So did they all know you're from North Carolina? Is that- So you see the Christmas tree farm up there? I actually research all these. Christmas trees is their second greatest agricultural export in North Carolina. Peanut farm is not. That's in Georgia. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay, let's see how we're doing here.
Man.
Brian is on the board and you see the arrow means that he moved up more than anybody else. Are we having fun or what?
Oh, yeah.
Shut the front door. Okay,
You didn't have me tell about it.
okay. Which NBA Hall of Famer did Brian live across the street from? Well, the majority did get it right. It was in fact Bill Russell. By the way, every one of those people were Hall of Famers and played within 10 years of each other. Again, I'm trying to stump you. Let's hear about that, Brian.
Oh, he was pretty reclusive. The interesting thing about him is he had two cars. He had a Rolls Royce and he had a VW Rabbit, a four-door. He rarely drove the Rolls Royce, but he's 6'10". When he drove the Rabbit, it looked like he was sitting in the back seat. Out of the back.
That's
window
why he
'cause
needed
he's
a
so tall.
four-door. He couldn't
Yeah.
have fit in a two-door.
Yeah.
That's funny.
How about Steph's tobacco picking?
And Melissa Small.
Oh, did we miss, I'm sorry, did I pass over? Let's talk tobacco.
Well, we met Melissa was first, but we didn't talk about Melissa Small either.
Mine was just an attempt to stump all of you because I knew you knew that I worked at Disneyland and I was a tour guide there, but that was in college and I was first a Gap girl. It was my first job in high school. So it was just meant to stump all of you.
And she was the only one that gave me all four answers, which wasn't required, but since she gave them to me, I used them. And now I know why.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed you. Stephanie.
Thank you. Well, and I guess everybody did know about the tobacco. But I put that on there because tobacco, when I was little, I grew up in the foothills of North Carolina. And so everywhere was tobacco. Everything was tobacco. I was surrounded by tobacco farms, and now you go home and most of the tobacco farms are not there anymore. But when I was growing up, that's what I would do is the family would go out there and I would go out there and work and help in the tobacco field to get some extra money during the summer for, whatever clothes or whatever I wanted to buy. So I'm impressed all of you guys knew that though.
That's cool. Have I missed anybody else? I'm going too fast. We have one more. And Melissa jumped up. Both Melissa and Brian again had massive increases. Okay, here's the last one, which will be kind of the level setter. Which celebrity did Connie meet at a charity event in Hawaii?
Mine's not working, but I can guess. That's what I would. That's what I
Wow,
would have
three
guessed.
of you got it right.
I would have guessed.
Bill Shatner. Live long and prosper, Connie. Let's hear the story. Charity event in Hawaii.
Yeah, so I don't know how many years ago it was, but we were over in Hawaii in between Christmas and New Year's, and my husband was reading the local paper, and there was like a comedy show and charity event a couple miles away at the Sheraton. So off we went, and he was actually one of the people that was on stage for a short time, in his 80s, doing his little comedy routine, but he stayed and talked to everybody. It was kind of intimate because there was only like 50 people there. So
He's had the same wig since 1979. I'm just guessing. Cool. Well, so that was it, just to get to know each other a little bit. But now the competition comes in. In third place, Brian.
Yay, Brian.
Second place, Vincent.
Go, baby.
And the winner,
Stephanie.
the thing, Melissa.
Hold it out.
Now, the sound is really quiet. Joe got it as loud as it could be, but there's a fanfare in the
I'll
background.
tell you where I was.
So that's the happy
I
dance.
got 1 out of 7. I got mine. Yeah, I got mine.
So I'm gonna leave that. Thank you for playing. That was fun. Let's go ahead and get back to the Zoom. There we go. Okay.
We're precisely
Okay.
on schedule.
Thank you. That was fun. I really enjoy putting those together. I'm doing one of these for the city of Kent for the 3rd of February, and they're having their entire leadership team do it. 16 people. So we had to carve out a half hour to do theirs. And we are right on time. Okay, so we're gonna go to agenda item number 3, which, by the way, is on page 4 of your packet. And I'm gonna ask you to go there because this is just simply a review. You remember when I did the terms and definitions of the long-term goals? It's that long-range endeavor toward which a significant accomplishment is trying to be achieved, and it should be in support of your mission and vision. And that's why we're taking a look at this. And your staff has done a great job with some revisions there. I know that these have already been presented to you, but I'd just like you to hold that out and in front of you when we actually get into agenda item number 4. So I know that this entire packet went to you all last Friday. And so.
Andrew, I'm sorry, did you say page 4? Or do you want the guiding principles page?
The guiding principles page, I've got page 4 on mine. Do you guys have a different document?
We don't have the printed out version. We have it.
We
in
don't
a
have the
note-
updated
We
one.
have it in a notebook. It's all tabbed.
Oh,
It does say on the bottom, 433.
that, oh, good,
This is
good.
the
4
updated
of
one?
33. And also in that packet that you got last Friday, it also had two, actually 3 good sized sections. It had a section, it was a progress report on the council priorities that you all established in March of 2023. Kind of shows you where you are in progress, you know, what's completed, what's not, what's in process, maybe what hasn't even been started. And the reason that, what page is that?
11.
Thank you. The reason that I want, in fact, that is really not relevant until the 31st. Because often in planning, especially in short-term priorities, if something didn't get done and it was a really high vote getter, and of course, all of these were high vote getters or they wouldn't be there, you might want to move forward, you know, to the next year. The council priorities, excuse me, city manager priorities are also in there. And you all agreed that we wouldn't do council priorities, excuse me, city manager priorities again. Is that on page 13, Martin? No, page 13 is what the staff has done to establish their operational priorities for the next biennium, this year and next. And then in addition to all of that, there was the public evaluation of the city, our performance survey. And you can kind of think of that. You remember how we used the SWOT analysis in March, kind of look at our strengths and weaknesses. That is from your perspective. This essentially is strengths and weaknesses on our citizens' perspective. And so that's all of this information is going to be useful in not only our long-term or long-range goals, but also for our 2023 council priorities. So we did leave a half hour for this. I don't know that we'll need that. If we actually went through every page, we'd be here until the 31st. There's a lot of information there. However, I do want to take a pause to see if anybody has any questions or comments on any of the 3 documents that are in there. Progress report on council's 2022 priorities. Any comments or questions regarding city manager's 22 priorities, or any comments or questions related to the performance survey of our citizens?
I'll start.
Yes, sir, John.
Well, just a couple comments, no questions, comments.
Excellent.
One, the proposed revisions to the guiding principles, I am so, every time I look at this, I'm so impressed with what this was turned into this. This is much more concise, much more actionable, and I think much more powerful. So
Great. I appreciate that. I'd like to take credit. I can take 0. That is all Martin and his leadership team that did all that work. And I agree with you, stellar.
yeah, especially if you look at the 2, where what you had and what you went to. And then I would really like to spend some time on the council priorities and what we wanted to focus on and what we came to.
I spend a few minutes doing that right now.
Well, I don't want to take away from everybody else if they
Okay.
have a, better.
Well, I'm
bigger
going
priorities.
back to page 11 so we can take a look at that. And while, I mean, we could easily go through and look at the status in about 5 minutes, and we have the time. So I appreciate you deferring to your colleagues to see if there's other comments before we do that.
Yeah.
Oh, Connie.
So as I was reading through the priorities, we didn't have to document that we had a fire contract to deal with, right? We didn't make it a priority because it was a necessary, we all knew that we had to take care of that and it was #1 priority. So, you look at these and it's like, oh, well, yeah, we didn't quite get those done. The staff and everyone was very busy with that fire situation last
Touche.
year. So I just wanted to make that comment.
I appreciate that, and I get it. I have 23 municipality clients in the Puget Sound, which is, I just absolutely love it. And I have never once run into a staff that wasn't overworked and overwhelmed. I mean, they just had, I shouldn't say overworked. They didn't have more on their plate than they had the human capital to deal with. So I really appreciate that comment, and I know your staff does too. Other comments?
Are we looking at the council priorities or the staff priorities?
Right now, we're looking at page 11. Council priorities.
Okay, so this really is the work of the council, not the staff.
Yes, this is the council priorities. The staff priorities for this coming, the biennium we just started.
Yeah.
That is just food for thought, so you understand operationally. I mean, council can say, you know, these are the big moving parts I want to see moved up the hill. And it's just really useful to know what's already on their plate.
Copy.
And it can also be useful knowing that they identify it as a priority. It might be useful in terms of the brainstorming of our long range and short term brainstorming, because there's no holds barred there. It's just kind of open ended. Yeah. Go ahead, Melissa.
Whenever I would like us to think through as we're moving forward with our priorities and how we work on things, but whenever there's the fully staff all departments, I remember how important that was for us last year. But as I look at it here and looking at it as a status update, it feels like we're never gonna, it's that finish line that we'll just never touch because someone might leave. And then, so what does that mean? I think as we look towards working on this in this retreat, trying to see if we can make that more tangible, instead of it just saying fully staff all departments, it's maybe, you know, put in, fully have a plan, so just something that, yeah, no, I see develop a plan to fully staff all departments, but there's something about the language there, because I just feel like we're always going to be reaching for it. And I'm looking for it to be just top line more tweaked. Yeah, yes, thank you. Thank you, Connie.
To your line of thinking, I'd love to know the delta between how many we were short and the fact we got down to 3 positions. How many did you fill since last March?
Yeah, but we're trying to put a number on it.
I think at the end of the year, we were about 3 short, but
No.
how many, I'm
How
sorry.
many did we fill?
Yeah, how many did we fill? I
Just a ballpark?
I
I mean, if you filled 3 and you didn't fill 3,
8,
that's
9,
very
10,
different than if you filled
12 to
you know,
15 maybe,
okay,
or ballpark, maybe even more than that.
gotcha. So
Yeah.
you got 80% there or more
Well, about 25% of our workforce. That's what I've estimated at one time. So,
that you had to fill.
yeah, 25%
Okay.
of,
So your point is really well taken, and you know, it is something that we're always going to be dealing with, especially among this great resignation. I got a funny email from a client the other day, and it was about a young man going in to be interviewed by a hiring manager. And the hiring manager looks at this young man and says, "So what do you think your worst quality is?" And this young man says, "Well, I think it's that I'm too honest." And the manager said, "Well, I don't think that's bad. I think that's a really good quality." And the other guy says, "Well, I don't really care what you think." A little bit of a generation
love
divide,
it.
anyway.
But yeah, so I think what you said.
Good
and-
progress, but it's maybe a line we'll never, or we won't be able to consistently cross.
Right, and then I think with the comments, or as we, you know, think through having these status updates, having those numbers, I think it's helpful for us, because this is something that someone can read and see. And so just like Councilmember Allison's comment about how fire annexation isn't on here, but wanted to flag that was a priority, even though, you know, it's as we do our minutes or as we do a wrap up, I think that's important to kind of update with
Right.
that content.
And essentially, John, Melissa started your conversation because you wanted to kind of take a look at these. So can I throw it back to you? And
Yeah, I just, in both of these, the council priorities and the city priorities, I like this. I love this format you use too here, because we're not gonna achieve everything we set as a goal for ourselves.
Is your
That's
mic
not
on?
gonna happen.
Is your mic on?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I like both the council priority update and and also the city update of
priorities. We set these as the top 5. And when you sit back and you look at it, okay, we didn't complete, like in the case of the council. We completed 1 of ours, but we got in process with the other ones. That's important to note. It's not a negative that you didn't do a very good job. Okay, why didn't we get there? We can learn from that we can learn, maybe what could we be doing differently in our planning at this retreat to set some goals again in an area, in a way to make sure we do achieve them. And if I look at what, the priorities for the new city manager, they didn't complete all of theirs either, but they completed more in a percentage of than the council did. So I think I look at the positive in it. And then I say, okay, from the negative, what we didn't complete, why didn't we? Some of these we didn't do anything on. And there's a reason why we didn't. And maybe there wasn't, that'd be a good discussion item.
No, I agree. Knowing the why is probably more important than knowing the what.
Yeah,
It's kind of why I asked what the delta was.
right.
Just, how big of an issue is it is. So a couple things occurred to me. First, great conversation and why we provisioned some time for this. Yeah, sometimes we, especially council members, leaders, policymakers of the city, can be a bit ambitious. And so if you fall short by 10%, but you push the ball 90%, I look at that as a win. And so, yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that with the goals. Stephanie?
Thank you, Andrew. I actually want to jump on what Councilmember Steckler is saying, because when we were discussing at the beginning, when you were discussing what we need to think about for our long range goals and the short term goals, I was kind of thinking of these items, and maybe there's a lesson here in how this last year was our first time doing this, because maybe some of these things they're longer term goals, and maybe we need to break down the steps to get there as our short-term goals and look at that, because like the DRCC, I think there's so many pieces to that, and things like that. So I think maybe the way we were looking at it last year needs to be adjusted just slightly as we're learning, because so many things, we're looking at this big, oh, we want to do the short term, but there's all these pieces that need to go first. So maybe we need to step back a little bit and look at the short term, what steps need to be taken to get to the long term.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to share an observation that a lot of cities do, and I'd like to hear Martin comment on this because I don't want to put words in his mouth. There were a couple reasons we got rid of the city manager. And this is really Brian's genius, is because he is permanent. And the thinking is, and it's true with almost all cities, is that the council priorities drive the work product and the plans that the city manager will have conversations with all the department heads. And it's their work plans that are designed to, those are the smaller bites to achieve that. But to your point about the goals, in traditional strategic planning, you need the highest strata is mission, vision, values. Little bit of teaching here, really quick. And then the next thing is, either goals, or you can call them objectives. And then below the goals are objectives. The goals are objectives to find what you want to accomplish. Then you get into those little pieces you're talking about, and those are the strategies, and they define how you're going to do it. And so the how you're going to do it, I believe, is often the work plans and projects driven by staff leadership. Is that even close?
Yeah, that's correct. That's a delta here. And what happened last year too is council did not have an idea of kind of what our goals were, given the kind of where we were with our operations and staffing, all the things that we needed to achieve. And it just wasn't done, given our priorities and our objectives, kind of what our strategy was going forward. There's also one piece of this that you don't see is our actual work plan that is actually a day-to-day list of tasks and projects that each department will have that will align with those operational priorities that you see on those in the packet.
In the packet, page 13 through 15.
Correct.
Yeah.
So all this is going to align eventually. So hopefully we provide enough information this time so that there is alignment across everything.
Well, kind of to several people's comments, you've made a quantum leap from where we were last year. Now you've got these operational priorities, and they are very informative to council. But everything you're saying about, having, incremental or smaller measures to, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? To kind of knock this down into smaller pieces. Absolutely 100% correct. And I want you to have confidence in your staff leadership that they are operationalizing these goals and priorities through the work plan, and that page 15 or 13 through 15 might, it could be informative for our long-range goal setting today, but it might even be more appropriate for our short-term priorities next week. Vince?
Well, I would just say, I mean, I agree with my colleagues up here and what the staff has said as well. Regarding even the short term and the long term plan here, shouldn't they fit in the box, both of these into that 2026 window? Shouldn't we be, I guess, thinking of it in that regard? That if you look at all of these bullets that we have on here, we have taken significant incremental bites out of everything when it comes to staffing, when it comes to DRCC, when it comes to ARPA funding. We've done some things already. We haven't completed them, yes, but the processes have been started across the line.
Right.
So I'm pretty happy and confident that we've done our due diligence with this short-term priority list. I mean, can they be expanded on? Of course, but to your point about no one eats the elephant in one bite is completely accurate.
Well, I really like the way you're talking about the connective tissue between the long-range goals and the short-term priorities, because they absolutely have to be there. It's like the goals need to be in alignment with and in support of the mission and vision. And so those are the goals. They define what you want to accomplish, and in this case, over the next 4 years. And we're going to get into that exercise soon. And then we always do the long term first. And then when we do the short term, not only informed by this packet, but informed by your short set of your 5 priority goals. Is that should be the real lens that we look through. So, okay, we're going to keep those 5 goals front and center. And we want to make sure that as we brainstorm those short-term 2023 priorities, that they're actually connected to and in support of, and not just, completely off in a different direction. 100% correct. And I'll talk a little bit more about that setting up for our exercise next week, and kind of talk about not only the alignment, but there's also the function of sequencing. Kind of gets back to the smaller pieces that you were talking about, which is, action plans. And, your action plan has to follow the critical path. Otherwise, you're going to be doing things in the wrong order. So I also appreciate, Vince, what you said about, hey, we've got some accomplishments here. And I had mentioned to John that, some of these can be aspirational. And nobody made me king. But what I have found is that when a planning body, I don't care if it's corporate, I've done a lot of planning with Boeing and Microsoft, larger groups. I don't care if it's corporate or if it's municipal or county or state. If you accomplish 100% of everything, you're not very aspirational. You're not pushing the envelope enough. So not seeing everything completely done, like kind of you're saying, both of you, it doesn't give me any heartburn. And so I'm glad it doesn't you either. So we still have a few more minutes of this, and I really do want to make sure that there is some open. This is kind of what you were hoping for, right, Martin? Excellent. This agenda item was Martin's vision, just kind of helping tee us up for these long-range goal setting. So, any other comments or questions or suggestions? Hearing none, why don't we go ahead and move into our long-range goal setting, and I'll kind of tee that up. You're not going to be mad at me if we got out a few minutes earlier, are you? You are going to hit me over the head. Okay, so went through all of this, and we know what pages we're looking at. Okay, so here we go. It's the same 4-step process that we went through when we did our 1-year priorities. It just is looking through a different lens. So we're going to brainstorm. And like last time, we may go on to a second page, and that'll be up to you, not up to me. We have time to do another page. You'll remember that when we did the sticky dots, several times we were having to divide our dots between a couple pages. But essentially, when we're thinking long-term, you know, remember we talked about a BHAG? Did I talk about, this goes back to you and I in Cairo. It has to.
Oh, yeah.
First minute, BHAG stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. In other words, you know, have some aspiration, push the envelope. We're talking 4 years out. When you're talking 1 year out, or in the case of our March planning this year, 9 months out, you know, you want to make sure that we have at least 1 foot in reality as we're doing this, but we can kind of think big. And the headlines exercise is twofold. Did I share about headlines last time? You don't usually use headlines when we're doing initiatives or strategies. So we use the headlines exercise for 2 reasons. One, the average headline is 4 to 7 words. So we want to be able to, we don't want to capture an essay, but just get the concept up here. Because if it bubbles up, we're going to frame it to it, you know, then we'll wordsmith it. But in brainstorming, you don't wordsmith because you could be spending time on something that doesn't bubble up in the votes. The second thing about a headline is that I want you to fast forward to December 31st, 2026. And I want you to think about the headlines of the amazing accomplishments that the city of Mill Creek has produced. So I want you to think, you know, BHAG. I do the same thing for vision planning. I call it BHAV, Big, Hairy, Audacious Vision. But BHAG's been around for many, many years. John and I didn't make it up, but we worked for a large company who was kind of oriented that way. And so step 1, we're going to be doing the headlines, those short 7-word bullets that are aspirational. Next, we're going to do the same thing. We'll consolidate. After we've run out of steam, we've got our, you know, 1 or 2 flip charts. We're going to take a look at them together and we're going to kind of consolidate. If there are 2 similar concepts that are almost the same, then we delete one. We keep the one that has more power behind it. Because the idea in traditional brainstorming, if Vince says ABC, 5 minutes later, Connie says ABC, Brian's not going to say Connie, Vince already said that, because that's considered judgment. I'm being really, really silly and kind of a fine point, but it's meant to be fast paced. We shouldn't take more than 10 minutes doing this. Just get it out on paper and then we consolidate. So we're not discussing during brainstorming, but when we get to consolidating, that's where we slow down, take a breath and start talking about it. A, make sure we understand the concept. B, kind of group the similar concepts or delete the identical ones. The idea is to get to, you know, a consolidated list. Did you have something or you're just really attentive?
No, I'm just.
Okay, cool. I just want to, sometimes I miss people when they want to say something and I'm trying not to do that. So that's the whole idea. But again, we're talking about goal concepts, not the idea of short-term priorities. We'll take a break somewhere in here. We start at 6, we go to 9:30, so we may very well get done a little early. So the halfway point, probably want to break, what, 7:45-ish? In about another 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Give or take? Okay, we can break in the middle of one of these pieces. It doesn't have to fit neatly here. I don't want you going too long before being able to go back and get some nourishment. I also don't want to go too long in the last half of our evening. It's only 30 minutes. Try to get it kind of in between. Step 3 is prioritizing. You all have done. Sean, what I do is after we get the list consolidated, everybody gets 3 dots and they get to vote on their first, second, and third priority. And so with 7 of you, you're going to have 21 dots up there. And then I'm going to remind everybody about the weighted concept, but I'll do that when we get into it. Welcome to the family, by the way. And then finally, as we did 10 months ago, framing. We'll take those top 5 goals, but we are going to get a little bit more specific. Does anybody here besides John know the SMART goal concept? It's an acronym for 5 qualities that you want a goal to have. Specific, measurable, assigned. The book says attainable, but the R says realistic, and I say attainable and realistic are synonyms. So I say the A is assigned, the R is realistic, and the T is time bound. Specific, simply it's quantifiable and dated. Doesn't have, so it's not in generalities. Kind of like what I showed as the example. I actually even had the due date at the end of it. So we'll just get them up there, and then as we rewrite them and kind of frame them into short goal statements, I'll help you smarten them up. Because one thing with strategies are not typically measurable, goals have to be measurable. And that's where your KPIs come from, the key performance indicators. And then when you get to performance management and the action plans, then you get back into who does what by when. So that's kind of the planning model that's most accepted. So before we get going, does anybody have any questions on our model? Good. Any questions for my newer family member? Good. Okay, excellent. Okay, again, headlines. I'm not going to put a ceiling on it like I did with SWAT. We're just going to kind of get it out there. Who wants to start off with the first headline? Brian.
City breaks ground on construction of Civic Center at property of dreams.
Can you turn that into a headline? That was about 4 headlines. So I've got city breaks ground. I mean, if it bubbles up to the top, we're going to make it look beautiful and all that. So give me just the last 3 words. City breaks ground on what?
On Civic Center.
Thank you.
I tried to be very neutral with Civic Center, so it didn't make us think of what was in
Outstanding.
the Civic Center.
So one thing that Sean doesn't know is that I can't spell. I have all 3 forms of dyslexia. So you just can't take this too seriously. I'm not going to waste your time on the letterbox. You guys get that, but that's my disclaimer. Did I have a hand over here? Who's next? Sean.
America's greatest city, less than 35,000.
Now that's aspirational. That's thinking big. Yes. Vince.
About Mill Creek sub-area plan comes to fruition.
You guys are really doing well. This is great stuff, because this kind of thing isn't going to happen in the next 11 months. We certainly can make progress on these, but you're really looking out there. So you guys are nailing it.
So hard to get it down to like 3 to 5 words.
It is.
So, can I
I'll give you 7, John.
Microphone.
I'll take 7.
Microphone.
Oh, thank you. It's on it. I just don't want anybody to hear me scratching around. It's not on. Mill Creek recognized for multi-purpose utilization of city property.
I'm just going to put MC. Recognized. Say that last few words.
For multi-purpose utilization of city property. I'm tying into Brian's a little bit here.
Multi-purpose of what?
Utilization of city property. Which is PRMC. KEYMOUSE.
Mine's an open house with activities, events for City Hall North.
Say
So
that again.
basically just redoing City Hall North and having it open.
Now I caught up on your grand opening thing, because that's the definition of accomplishment. I like it. Yes, Vince.
About city balances 6 consecutive budget.
6 consecutive budgets. Honey.
City has functional yard for equipment and materials.
Excellent. I'm trying to, I can't spell, I can't type, I can't write. It's just a hot mess. I'm trying to write so you can actually read it from across the room so we can consolidate together. John.
City, Mill Creek, MC, one word, agrees and immortalizes 3 to 5 year strategic goals. MC agrees and immortalizes 3 to 5 year strategic goals.
Oh, that's better. Sean, I can't remember.
Can't remember what the survey was, but that our communications team had done the performance review.
Yes.
Yes. Achieved 90% positive rating on
Benchmark study.
city is heading in the right direction. I think it was question 12.
Achieve 90%.
90% positive. I think there were 3 different positive characteristics and 3 negative.
On city performance.
Correct.
Thank
So I think the question was specifically, is the city headed in the right direction? Scott and Jody will correct us, I'm sure. And should.
Excellent. Yeah, that's absolutely quantifiable. Yeah. Thanks.
Mill Creek Sports Fields voted #1 in the state.
What's really cool about this is you're given really good headlines. And then we'll do the consolidation, but when you actually do the vote, you're going to be voting on what you think has the bones of making a really good goal statement. Stephanie.
I need help with headlines because for a long range goal, I would like to see us have a plan in place to make sure that all our streets and sidewalks are clean and beautiful, like the medians are nice and landscaped and look in tip top shape. But what headline would I put for that?
Would beautification be part of the headline?
Maybe.
I hear that a lot in municipalities when they're talking about aesthetics.
Yeah, maybe.
For
Could-
the 4th
it-
straight year.
But it seems like it's more than beautification, right? That's kind of safety, like it's beautification and safety.
Yeah.
Right? The streets and the sidewalks, yeah.
Well, if you've got 2 moving parts in there and you're having a hard time framing them into one statement, break them into 2 different. So let's do one on aesthetics. You have to use my word, but you start out by talking about how the sidewalks, the streets and medians are clean. So
Mhm.
there's the clean word. Then you get into safety. And so what I would recommend is that we break that into 2.
Okay.
So let's start with the first one with the clean. And you were going somewhere, Connie. You were going to do a headline. 4 years.
Well, just something like for the 4th straight year, Mill Creek has been, the.
Rated cleanest city in the
Yeah,
state.
Something like that.
There you go. Okay.
I like your idea on a safety one though, Sean.
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to tackle the safety one?
I was just jumping on the step, so please. Yeah.
No, but you're really good to articulate what's in your head, and we were able to pick it apart and rebuild it, and boom, it took us less than a minute to get it up there, so don't sell yourself short, just get out what's in your head, and your colleagues and I will help you frame it into a headline.
To do like Mill Creek improves street safety I don't,
Or maybe Mill Creek rated the number one or rated the safest
Safest
city
city.
in the state?
well, but that has different meanings depending on who you ask. So, and we're talking about streets here, because when you start to get into safety, then we start to talk about also the police, lots of other
Oh,
things.
so you were talking
not-
specifically
I'm
about the
talking about
streets.
specifically the streets. And then maybe we should do something about being, we have a top notch police department.
Still.
Yeah, still.
So what's the headline?
Fifth Street year, Mill Creek has best, voted best police department in the state. No pressure, chief.
Touche. Yeah, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was reading about you. Really glad that's working out for all of us. Okay. Oh, I gotta start a new sheet. So, yeah, don't,
Yeah.
I do have to put, sorry, I did this last time. I had to, you won't have to move now, but I've got to have these together.
You lost your plexiglass. That's what we hung them on last year.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
what a
lost our
great memory you
plexiglass.
have. Yeah, I got like 4 of them on there. Anyway, we're going on to a second sheet. They have to
We'll
be
find it
side
for
by
you.
side for you to vote. So let me code this really quickly. Melissa.
Connection with all city parks and trails.
Yeah.
I like the ooze, whoever did that. Thank you.
Get 2 oohs on that.
Thank you. Let's rank it on
All
that.
City parks and what?
Yeah, city parks and trails. It's
Excellent,
important,
thank
it's
you.
important that it's the city parks and the city trails.
You got a fan club.
I got one.
Oh.
Too many words, but was somebody done to raise their hand?
No, it was simultaneous.
Oh, wait, yeah. Melissa. Mill Creek neighborhoods flourish as civic, artistic, and recreational opportunities abound.
Okay, knock it down to 7.
I know, it sounds really cool, doesn't it? But just too many words.
It does. But I tell you what, the cool thing is that when we get to, if it bubbles up to the top, we get away from headlines and we frame it as a goal. So,
Help me cut it down. Mill Creek neighborhoods flourish as civic, artistic, and recreational opportunities abound.
why don't we just take the flourish part out and then just, you know, the
Mill Creek neighborhoods. How much was Mill Creek? Mill Creek flourish. Mill Creek flourishes.
work backwards. What were the last 5 words?
Civic, artistic, and recreational opportunities abound.
That's what I was looking for. Can I do that as the placeholder?
Yeah.
Help me out here. Civic?
Artistic and recreational opportunities abound. And yes, I did steal that from some of the, from Martin's revision of the guiding principles and vision statement. Anybody's gonna accuse me of that? I did.
Okay. Did you have one or are you just laughing at us?
Something, new, I want to say attract small business. But how do I word it then?
That's right. How about Mill Creek becomes the #1 small business magnet?
Ooh, I like
I
that.
like it.
That's great.
I
Yeah.
like it.
Does that work for
Yeah,
the 3 of you?
Yeah, because we were thinking like supportive
Yeah,
or
like it.
like
But
incoming,
I tell
but
you what,
that's
if it
great.
bubbles up to the top, we'll rewrite it.
Right.
Make it.
Words.
Yes.
I like
Small
it.
business magnet. That's really good.
Hey, great minds think alike.
So how do you achieve that? That ties in with a lot of the other goals.
Mill Creek adopts 5-year strategic plan.
What did you say, 5-year, 52?
Hmm?
I didn't hear.
5-year strategic plan.
5 years. strategic plan.
Mill Creek recognized for smart growth excellence.
About MC becomes tourist destination.
University,
We run our course. Yes.
Oh, we can do this all night. Mill Creek vision becomes reality.
university bookstore space filled.
That should be, I know you laugh, but that's good. That should be on our list for Monday, because it's a little bit short term, or do you want it here? What you want is right.
I think he was being silly.
I was being silly and serious.
Can we add with the Panera bread?
Goal of attracting
Panera
business.
bread.
Oh, yeah.
You just want one farther north, don't you? Yeah, me too. Me too. So we run our course.
I think we should have, one that seems to be missing here is employer of choice. Something about staffing and how we take care of our employees. I'm not sure, maybe people could help with that, but I didn't see any of that on our long-term goals, and I know that that's a vision short.
Well, how about the city of Mill Creek is the best place to work?
But Mill Creek
yeah.
recognizes best place to work.
Yeah, that'd be fine. That should be part of that too.
I like the way you said it better. Well, we got, yes,
Can we contribute?
that's up to council, but I do.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
there you
yes.
go.
More aspirational, but the Mill Creek develops technology hub.
Let's think it down the road.
My Dixie is getting in the way. I spelled hub HUD, but I caught it.
Can I add?
Yeah.
How about Mill Creek maximizes on the light rail? The up and coming light rail.
Yeah.
I like the word maximizes. Light rail opportunity, yeah.
Now, if we could only get light rail here before 2037.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like that ball keeps getting pushed down.
Yes, it does.
No place to put all that stuff on the east side. Do we feel like we got a pretty good list? We start to consolidate?
There's one more that I've been reluctant to put out because it's in something we're required to do with the comp plan, but that's adopt updated annexation policies for considering future annexations.
Can we just do the first part of that?
Sure.
Update what annexation? policy?
Annexation policies.
Okay. You know, with the glass, it was really convenient because it was so close you could see it. Hard to consolidate something you can't see.
You know, the aspirational part of a goal, I really like where Brian's going to update annexation policies. But if we could change that word to redefine annexation policies or something that would be very aspirational, it's something that's very creative. Maybe there's a whole different way of looking at it that we haven't thought of yet.
Is there a button where I can make this thing go up halfway? Looks like it's retractable.
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, there is.
Thank you, Mike. Looks incredibly.
There you go.
We can read it on the wall.
Well, I think putting it, well, I think it's gonna be easier closer.
Yeah.
And since we already know what the deal is, and we're gonna take a break in about, like 25 minutes.
We gotta this down. It'll be hard.
It should be safer.
I know, 3 little buttons to put up there.
Now, do you, everybody but Sean, remember all the color coding we did to put subordinates under the?
I forgot.
It'll happen organically.
Yeah, I forgot.
And if it doesn't happen, then it wasn't meant to. Okay, so I gotta get all of my,
Hey, Andrew,
yes,
over here. So Grant brought up, how about something to do with safer Mill Creek? I know we have the
Safety.
we've got 2 or
We got
3 of them
safety
up
up
there.
there?
Do you have a
Okay.
different way of putting
from
it?
a policing standpoint. Where do you think we put that on?
It's actually up
Is it
there.
up there?
Yeah, that's how important it is.
Well, I don't think,
I don't see.
we put the street.
Oh, you wanted the streets. That's right. I was,
So he wants to get it from.
okay. They're gonna get combined anyway, but
Okay.
Yeah.
let's
Let's
put it up there.
Yeah.
Or maybe the streets will be underneath the bigger one.
Right.
Oh, combine it with Mill Creek Neighborhoods Flourish as civic, artistic, and recreational opportunities.
Okay,
Safely.
so what we're gonna do now, does this computer blocking you, Melissa?
Yes, it is, but it's okay. Because I can stand up.
Okay, so I'm gonna read these and I want you to think about, well, first of all, we want to make sure that we understand the concept. You can't vote on something you don't understand. And second, I want you to be thinking and looking for duplicates or similar concepts. City breaks ground on new civic center, America's greatest city under 25,000 population. Mill Creek sub area comes to fruition. Mill Creek recognizes the multi-purpose of utilization of city property.
Can John expand on what he means by that for us?
Isn't this the D?
Yeah, it's here, that's the property, our city properties. City of Mill Creek, recognized for utilization of city property, I believe it was.
So there wasn't a multi-purpose utilization.
Oh, it was multi-purpose utilization.
You know what? I think I got us off track when I said of. So recognize for the multi-purpose utilization of our city. Yeah, I just had an extra word in there.
And that was yours, same thing as Brian's thing.
Okay.
But that just demonstrates the right way of doing this.
But though that relates to the
But
first.
that relates.
I'm just gonna read the
Oh,
entire
you
thing.
just- Okay,
And then we'll get into it. I want you to stop me though, if you don't understand the concept, like what just happened. Redo City Hall North. City balances 6 consecutive budgets. City has yard for equipment and materials. Well, you don't want to park out in the street. Mill Creek agrees and immortalizes 3 to 5 year strategic plan. So there's a connection there to the 5-year plan. Achieve 90% positive on city heading in the right direction question in the performance review. Mill Creek Sports Field voted #1 in the state. 4th straight year of Mill Creek rated cleanliness, cleanest city in the state. Can't even read my own doggone writing. That's scary. Mill Creek has the safest streets in the state. We have the best police department in the state. Connection with all city parks and trails. Civic, artistic, recreational activities abound. Mill Creek becomes the #1 small business magnet in the state, in the county, whatever you want to do. If it bubbles up, we'll play with it. Mill Creek adopts 5-year strategic plan. That's what we're listening for, right? We got something here and something here. Recognized for smart growth excellence. Mill Creek becomes #1 tourist destination. Our vision becomes reality. Mill Creek recognized as the best place to work. The city of Mill Creek is what we're talking about. Mill Creek develops technology hub. Mill Creek maximizes on upcoming light rail. Update annexation policies and or redefine. Mill Creek recognized as safest city in state. So let's start with the easy ones, as we're only going to bifurcate these one at a time. Kind of group them together. So as we're doing the one that's really obvious, we've got 2 5-year strategic plans. If something comes to your mind, please write it down because I don't want to forget. But just because I recognize it doesn't mean that you're going to approve it, because this is your list, not mine. But we've got Mill Creek agrees and immortalize the 5 to 7 year or to strategic goals. So the wording's a bit different. And then Mill Creek adopts a 5-year strategic plan. Would you agree that those are in the same genre? Okay. Which one would you say is the bigger thought, the better umbrella?
One of them was mine, and I think.
The other one was Brian's.
Yeah. It was
Not that I'm playing favorites, but I do own the dinner.
I think I talked about agrees and immortalizes.
Microphone.
That's what I wrote. Yeah, agrees and immortalizes. The idea is we can put them together.
Right. So, and did you have both of those up there? I didn't hear that. I heard agree, adapts.
I agrees and immortalizes 3 to 5 year strategic goals.
Okay, so.
And then we've got adopts a 5-year strategic plan. They're both going in the same direction.
Same direction.
What I'm going to suggest is we pick one, and then if it bubbles up to the top, we incorporate the language above.
I like immortalizes. The reason why I put that in is that we have a tendency to put these plans together, 3 to 5 year goals, and then put them in a drawer and then pull them out next year when we bring you back in. By immortalizing them, you make them more visible. You're aware of them. You're bringing them back over the course of the year, 3 to 5 times. It's just, this is immortalizing. So
I have a suggestion that uses language for both. Oh, go ahead, Vince. I'd rather hear from you.
Looking at both of them, the second one adopts the 5-year strategic plan is something we're going to have to do. So I think that pretty much encompasses the goal and in the most succinct manner.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I was going to say Mill Creek adopts and immortalizes 5-year strategic plan.
that does it.
And so what we do is we cross this out, not because it's not important, but we don't want to be spreading our dots across synonyms. And then I'm just going to put that word in. So if it bubbles to the top, we don't forget that.
Immortalizes.
Okay, excellent first whack at this. What are some other similar things? There's a lot on safety. So Mill Creek has the safest streets in the state. Mill Creek has the best police department in the state. Mill Creek is recognized as the safest city in the state. They're all going in the same direction. Some are a little bit more specific or granular, but they could actually end up being underpinning strategies. Melissa, what do you think?
Yes, I was just gonna say, I think we could go with the last one, the recognize as safest city in state that would kind of have those underneath it, be like kind of that bigger umbrella.
And then we would add the streets and police department as part of it if it boils up.
Mhm.
So there's the proposal. You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Lots of thumbs up. Nice work. Okay. So again, don't have heartburn over the red lines. Just know that we're not going to vote on that. This is the consolidation process. And then if that boils up to the top, we'll incorporate that language, just like we did with John and Brian's. What else? So I came up with the two easiest ones.
So the city breaks ground on the civic center, the Mill Creek. Let's see, where is it at?
It's the fourth bullet.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, this one right here?
Recognize, I can't read what that says.
It says Mill Creek
Recognized
recognized for multi-purpose utility of city property.
Okay, those are the same thing.
Are they the same? This is the property, the D.
That
I
is.
can never remember it. So which one do we like? And let's just put those four initials. Those
Well,
3 or 4 initials.
I also suspect
another
that
one.
Councilmember Cavallari is also thinking the same thing when of the same property when he says the Mill Creek Sports Fields voted #1 in the state.
And
Great.
I'm also the one about the equipment and materials.
Oh, is that all? Okay, so let's just,
No, that's.
That's the public works
different,
facility.
let's
that's a
code
public works,
these.
it won't be in the same
Right
place.
now, that's where we're. That's
Okay,
right
so I've
now,
got
they're
number 1
eyeing
and 4.
part of
What was
that.
the third one?
The sports, Mill
sports
Creek Sports
field.
voted #1
Right
in
here.
the state.
And I looked at Vince and he's going like
Yeah.
this. Okay, so we've got 3 that we can combine to 1. Are there any others that might fit there? I'm gonna read the 3 and then you can look at the others and see if anything else fits. And by the way, the goal is not to knock this thing down to 5. I'd love it if there were 15. Because your votes will do the final prioritization. City
Andrew,
breaks ground on Civic Center.
Andrew,
Yes.
what is on the second page, about halfway down, it says our vision becomes reality.
Yeah,
Is that part of DRC? Is that part? I'm not sure what that
I don't know.
means.
John brought that one up. And
Yeah.
why I remember who brought all this stuff up, I have no idea. I've got a beautiful mind. Some people think I should be institutionalized.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
3 of those were using different words to dance around the issue of what goes in this development. What if we use the first one and says city breaks ground on multi-purpose civic center? The intent that multi-purpose could encompass, oh, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, and then we
Multi-purpose-
can wordsmith further.
And it's not trying to be presumptive of what the purpose is. Or the purposes are that are part of it. That would be my suggestion.
Does that mean that would also encompass the vision?
I believe so, but.
It does.
Okay.
The only question I have on that one was, I'd love it if, instead of saying the city breaks ground, if it was more,
I tell you what, not to be pedantic on this, but let's reword it if it bubbles to the top. And
oh,
it
I thought that was the
probably
one
will.
we're, okay, because I like where we were going with that one, put multi-purpose.
Yeah, I've got the multi-purpose, but we can replace breaks ground
Okay.
with some other things. So I'm gonna recognize multi-purpose
Take it out.
utilization of the city. That's part of that. The
Sports
Mill Creek
fields.
Sports Field,
That's
part
part
of
of it.
that. Boy, that was a really good one. And then the vision, is that what you were thinking?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah,
And-
I would, how about adding to city breaks ground on vision for multi-purpose civic.
We'll
center.
reword it after it
Okay.
breaks up. Remember, we're not gonna reword during this section,
Okay.
but obviously this is gonna be a really easy one for you to frame. That's cool. Where the heck
It's
is the-
midway, right in the middle,
Second
right in the
page.
middle.
Kind of in the middle,
Our vision.
down one.
Next one.
Our vision.
There it is. Thank you. I had a blind spot. Yeah, in fact, this is the color coding I was talking about. So we don't forget what it was about.
And I have another proposal. So we have that America's greatest city under 25 population, and then we have the best place to work, the safest place, the cleanest place. Aren't those all just?
Well, that's a really good point. I think you could consolidate. I don't know that you would put the city of Mill Creek is the best place to work, with the city being the safest city. Those seem like 2 different big thoughts. And unless,
So there actually is, they do a top 100 cities in America. And if you can somehow consolidate, they utilize all of those components in the ranking process to see if you're a top 100 city. So if you
is that
wanted
where
to,
you're going, Connie?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because how would you measure whether or not we were the greatest city under 25,000, and you'd have to use some kind of metric, and all of those things are metrics about the livability of this city.
Right, so it's up to the council whether they want to put a bunch of criteria under one banner or whether you want to segment it out. It's totally up
Just
to you.
The reason I brought that up is that is a metric, like Vince said, there's a set of metrics that I don't know
So
what the
which
group
bullet are we
is.
talking about, Sean?
Sorry, America's Greatest City. It's ranked,
Oh, I got it.
that is a ranking and it's done by city size.
Got it. And so there's already published
Things like-
criterion.
Right, and it's things
Criteria.
like whether it's safe and livable and parklands and all that.
Okay, so with that,
Walkability, all kinds of things.
Yeah, walkability.
so with that explanation, then does that kind of supports what Connie is saying, you can put all that stuff underneath it.
I personally prefer to possibly keep them out until after we have voted anyway, because I feel like whether or not we want to put priorities on the streets or different things like that need to be separate things to focus on and not just lump it up underneath. the
Okay,
America's Greatest
well,
City.
Well, they
the,
still could
the
become
safest streets have
strategy.
already rolled up. Safest streets.
The safety,
Bottom right.
we put it in the region, the
Oh,
safest
let me
city.
color code those.
But I feel like putting it as a greatest city can lump in so many different things and doesn't tell me what we're supposed to work on.
So you don't want to bubble everything up under the America's Greatest City.
I don't, but I'm
Okay.
just one of 7, so.
I did want to connect these to this. And then you've also got the cleanest city. And so that would, if we were doing that, that would roll up underneath that, but that's clearly different than safe. These two are obviously tied to this one here. And we can see, so that's the point of the color coding, is that after you prioritize, you'll know where the additional information was. So are any other thoughts before we move away from this?
Did we consolidate the one that we were on? I mean, we had its City Breaks Ground. Were we done with that one? I thought,
Yeah, that one's done. That one is the dominant to this one, and this one. Yeah, so those are all done in color coded.
were we going, you said we were going to talk about possibly wording them?
No,
Not today?
no, we will today, but you only reword the top 5 after voting. You never
Okay.
reword until after you vote.
I got it.
Because otherwise you could be rewording something and wasting time. So you had an idea.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we can lump in my Mill Creek becomes #1 small business magnet along with the tech hub, because would.
Well, I
or would
tell you
tech
what,
hub- Or would
so
tech not
write that down so you don't forget it.
be
But
part of small
you're
business?
jumping to another one and we haven't made the decision on the last conversation.
Oh, sorry, I thought we.
No,
did make a
don't be
decision on
sorry.
last
Just don't
conversation.
forget that, because that's a really good conversation. So we still haven't,
I thought
so we
made-
have some people saying that it'd be great to put all this under this. Some people saying we should keep them apart. The one challenge, and maybe Martin wants to go on this, is like, let's say there's a dozen criteria. Is then all of a sudden you have a dozen targets you got to hit. That could be a little daunting. Want to get this out of the way so everybody.
Should we do a thumbs up or sideways or thumbs
Sure.
down?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Indifferent.
the question is that we're thumbs up or thumbs sideways or thumbs down is, do we categorize, all of the things like in the safest, all the stuff underneath America's Greatest City, because it is a real designation, and lump all that as one, or do we keep that separate? So those that want to lump everything underneath the American City, please show me your thumbs up. Well, actually, everybody votes. Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down.
We don't necessarily have to lose those lower level elements, do we though?
No.
By consolidating?
No, we're
We can
just-
still have
we're- no.
priority to safety.
What you're
cleanliness.
deciding on right now is whether those lower level priorities will bubble up under this.
Okay,
Or in other words, are we going to put criteria against that? Because right now we don't have any criteria against it.
Well, there is criteria already established.
But what if that criteria is safety and other things that we vote against today? So we should say, do we want to put some criteria against that? I mean, there is criteria for
Well,
how they rank
My,
cities.
my recommendation is that we stay in the same lane, and that is they've already identified several things that they
Mhm.
think would work under this. We don't actually have the criteria, and so that would be a post-mortem exercise. Right now, we're just doing our consolidation exercise, so I'm gonna keep this just focused on that. So I'm gonna go back to the question. How, so the two options are, one, roll all of that stuff up underneath this, and the other is keep it separate. So thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down on keeping it all underneath this. Okay, we've got 5-2. Okay, so we're gonna roll it up. Let's identify what we want to roll up. So right now, we've got the safest cities, the police department, and recognizes the safest city. So essentially, you're talking about putting that all underneath this.
Safety, correct?
Yeah, all of the safety.
Safety.
Okay, so I'm gonna well, I don't even have to recode it. I'm just gonna make this one the dominant. The way you know what's dominant and what's not, what's subordinate, is all of the subordinates.
Have lines through them.
Yeah, they have red lines through them. And so I'm changing all of those. Essentially, all of these blue are, where did the other blue go? So. One's done. What am I missing?
Best place to work?
Oh, city breaks, does that one go underneath here, or is
No,
that separate?
No, that's separate.
Okay,
Third from the bottom on the left, the fourth straight year is the cleanest city.
Yeah.
That,
Okay, cleanliness.
third from the bottom, thank you, 1, 2, 3,
Cleanliness, yeah,
okay,
it's a criteria.
that's a good one. I need to separate this, I need to change that code because it's a standalone. Okay, so essentially what you're saying is America's greatest city under population of 25, it includes being recognized for multi-purpose. No, this is up here.
No,
Okay. Well,
I change your color coding. That gets confusing.
you're confused between a full circle and an open square?
No, I'm confused between what goes underneath.
So.
Greatest city, yeah, because all of them.
So
are red lines.
recognized for multi-purpose is under the city breaks ground for multi-purpose.
Got it.
Everything else goes under here. I'm gonna read them to make sure I don't have them incorrect. So America's greatest cities includes, no, the sports field is also under here.
Yes, and so as our vision becomes reality
Yeah.
on the other page.
Great, okay, that's why I'm reading these. Okay, so under city breaks ground for multi-purpose civic center, that includes the multi-purpose utility service center, or multi-purpose center, includes the sports field, and includes the vision. The American greatest city includes 4 straight years cleanest, safest streets, best police force, and recognized as safest city. I think I got that.
Wouldn't economic growth and economic opportunity fall in that category as well? So
Ask
you
your,
can,
ask your
you
colleagues.
can also place developed technology in there, proximity to light rail, things like that. All of those are the basis points that they use to rank you in the top 100 cities.
Yeah, do your colleagues agree with that?
I agree with the best place to work. I saw the technology hub as being a separate objective
That's because
outside
a
of
bunch
that.
of people behind you are going like this, so it's kind of.
That's why I look this way.
They put you in the right seat.
I hate that seat back there. That's a terrible seat.
Well, here's one thing, I'm just gonna share a concern, and that is over consolidating makes a goal just unmanageable. And that's why I looked over at Martin 10 minutes ago and I said, if you're gonna have, a dozen targets under one goal, that's a dozen goals that he's gotta manage. And so, again, The goal is not to consolidate this down to the top 5. This is very open-ended in general. The only way you're going to smart that is by having all the criteria. And then, like I said, you're going to have 10 different KPIs. And that's too much under one banner, in my opinion. You know, I know the other end of this in terms of how you execute it. That's why I keep looking at him, but he hasn't turned green.
Well, you know, we're gonna be managing these departments anyway, and there will be, of course, KPIs across these departments. It's not mutually exclusive. I mean, each department will be managed to hit performance measures and to service our community. So incidentally, it's gonna fall under that anyway.
Could you please pull up the criteria?
I'm
for
doing it.
America's Greatest City, or did somebody do that?
I'm doing it right now.
I think it might be finest, just, I think it's.
Well, we can wordsmith it if it bubbles up.
Okay, he wants finest. I'm gonna put finest in.
The point is, if there is energy in the room to just really focus in on that, then you're just gonna have a bunch of sub bullets as KPIs. And you know, if you want to do that, you can. Seems like Martin doesn't care. So in terms of, I'm being very serious. He has to implement this. He is running all the taskmasters. If he's looking at this and his ears are about to pop off his head, I need, as a facilitator, to pay attention to that. But he seems pretty much unscathed.
Demographics, housing. Oh, yeah.
Would you read it?
It's 100 most livable cities in the US.
Pardon me?
100 most livable cities in the US.
Is that the criteria?
No, I have ranking, criteria ranking for the finest cities, because he liked finest. Amenities, economy, demographics, housing, social and civic capital, education, healthcare, transportation, and infrastructure.
Nothing in there was about public safety.
That's weird. You're right. I'm kind of surprised.
And we just put a bunch of stuff under public safety. So we're kind of getting high centered, but it's for all the right reasons. We're trying to organize all this. However, just because it doesn't mean that you can't add it to your deal. Would you please read those again? I want everybody to listen to it, because the question I'm going to ask is whether you want that to be defining America's finest cities, and then we would add public safety. So
And I just want to make one comment.
Yeah.
There's probably like 50 different rankings with all kinds of different criteria. So we're gonna listen to one.
Right.
There's
I-
there's
but
always,
this is
this
the one
magazine
page.
comes up with these 25, and there's all kinds of different.
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
shouldn't the
Sure.
goal be to seek designation as one, but we don't determine tonight which one we want to be designated, because we don't know what criteria we want to try to.
Right.
Right. This should be just for getting some ideas in our heads, but it's not.
You
the
certainly
end all.
could. The only issue is you wouldn't be able to finish or frame the goal. You couldn't smart it, because we don't
Yeah.
have the data.
But I hear your concern. I think it's subsuming other things that are intended to be distinct, separate items, like on economic development and businesses and the technology.
Public safety.
That's distinct objective that's different from a designation as a greatest city or a finest city or greatest place to live or.
Well, I was sharing my concerns a couple times and I didn't get any traction on it, so I decided
I
It's
share
not
your,
my
I
job to
share your
convince you.
concern.
it's just, my job is only to share best practices. It's your job to make the decision, because this is council long-range goals.
Mayor, if I can make a comment.
Yeah,
I would say that a finest city is a different category than safest city. And a lot of the things that you were speaking of would be in regards to a fine city. The FBI uses crime statistics that are provided by each local agency that speak to the public safety safest cities. So that's how there are different criteria, and it's based off of crime reports.
So what you're saying is we should, I mean, you're proposing that we go back to recognized as the safest city with these other categories that have safe in it underneath it.
But these rankings also use the crime statistics to or fro, basing them on their ranking on the top 100. You know what I mean? In the tops as well. So,
Right, you have to but in this exercise, I think it would be better to split them in half. This is my recommendation, I guess, would be to split those finest city and then safest city. That way you have those two goals that are specific and you can find something. I think you're putting a lot of those elements under that greatest city category.
I tell you what, this is what we're gonna do. It's 9 minutes to 8. We're gonna take our 15-minute break and then we're gonna come back and eat this thing one bite at a time. There's kind of two camps. And again, we'll do the thumbs up again. But because the thumbs up we did originally was to put it all underneath here. But now we're thinking, maybe that's not the best thing to do. So let's take our 15-minute break. Look at your clock. Please be back here ready to go in 14 minutes. This isn't one of those conventions where 15 turns into 25. I'll see you all in 14. Thank you. We're adjourning actually until 8 minutes after, not 6. Yeah. So I just add 14 minutes to whatever is on your clock right now. 52. 57. Anyway, you get the idea. I'll take it. I totally agree with you. I've been trying to push that and feel like I was kind of hitting that, beating a dead horse, but it's its own category.
Well, if you start looking at it, all the things they were talking about by the cities, has nothing to do with them, because they do just separate it out. Talk about violence, property crimes, total crimes, population versus total number of officers. And every data reporting. So all these things that are factored into that have nothing to do with things they describe as finance.
Right, well, that's the first thing I said. My back was to you, but you read that whole criteria. I said, it's nothing about public safety in there.
Right.
And he goes, you're right.
Yeah. And I don't think that that's what they want. I think they want both.
That's why I think they need to be broken out separately.
And then we get some.
There you go. I had dinner before I came, so I'm just eating a bunch of cookies. It's dessert time for me.
I'm over on the restroom request.
Pretty funny on yourself. When you think about it, it's like.
I'm gonna run out of ways to recategorize and stuff.
Just talking through this. All those things that are interesting.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You have so many KPIs that are cross department.
Well, you can have one KPI for each department. You don't have to have a lot.
That's a lot more attainable, but you know, that's not gonna do this.
No, but the more thing.
When you have all those things that make the finest city, we start talking about clean, safe roads. You're gonna have to have multiple KPIs to have safe roads. You're gonna have multiple KPIs to have clean, right?
Well, these
So
are
then
aspirations.
then how sustainable is that? How achievable is that actually? I could say attainable. If we're gonna use the smart acronym, I should use it.
It's like, you can't just say safety, there's a lot more policing than just.
Yeah.
We've been saying.
Yeah, that's true. Well, then I was gonna mention too, though, just given what's happening with public safety, all of those houses and everything, it might be worth pulling out. Sorry, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of things on the policing side that.
Yeah,
Nowadays-
legislative agenda on the public safety side is gonna be huge.
Yeah. And then how city police moving forward too.
Right.
How city police moving forward. You know, it's gonna change
Well,
everything.
I also don't see in 2026,
Yeah.
our population being under 25,000.
Yeah, I mean, that ties into everything that's happening, performance evaluation. All the comments are about, a lot of them are
Well, they all want to see
homelessness.
They want to see more police, more police.
It's usually about you, but.
That's all they care about.
That's
Yeah.
something to see.
Sweep the streets,
Yeah.
sweep the streets, get rid of the homeless and solve the speed problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you read the survey, Jody?
Oh, the highlighter out and everything.
And this is really good one.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff on there. There's some stuff that doesn't take that. That's why I didn't put it up for you, but. I will say, but,
Well, it's natural for them to say see more police. They haven't had a full police staff since, 2020, 2021. Been 2 years since they've seen a full police staff.
They say it's not relevant. 300, I think it is relevant. They're comparing the 21,000 population.
Well, I
But
think,
that-
I think
that's
it's
just a
not,
number.
it doesn't hit your, like, it would be difficult to hold up with any type
No,
of,
I'm
but
not
for
about
us, it
that.
matters.
Oh,
Yeah, for us, it matters, but if we were to try and take that. They're irrelevant. I mean, there's.
Yeah. Just trail. And I decided wait till next week. Didn't think of those now. That was a big part of it.
Before that, so it's sit down.
Okay, sports fans, we are at exactly 14 minutes. And so we're going to re-engage this conversation with the goal of, like right now we're high centered. By the way, it happens all the time. It's not good or bad. It just happens. But my job is to help you get off high center and get to the point where you can prioritize. So you've heard from the police chief, you heard from John, he read that thing. And he read a whole bunch of criteria. It didn't have public safety, kind of supports the police chief. Connie accurately said, well, there's a dozen different lists. Which one are you going to pick? It just seems like it gets more and more amorphous. So what I'd like to do is give our council members a minute to gather your thoughts. I'd like to go just kind of down the aisle from Melissa all the way to Sean. And you don't have to give a decision. Share what you're struggling with. Share what's on your mind. And unless you actually do have a way you want to go and you want to suggest, then we want to hear your argument for doing so. I think that we need to hear from everybody. But I'm not going to just call on Melissa without giving her a chance to think about it. Oh, unless you're ready. Oh, you are? Okay, cool. So let's everybody take 1 to 2 minutes max of kind of sharing their thoughts, the goods, the bads, pros, cons, what they like, what their fears are. And if you have a suggestion on going one way or the other, let's hear the argument for doing so. You have the floor, Adam.
I'm always nervous when I see a best of city or, any of those types of rankings. That's not something that feels tangible to me. It doesn't feel like something that maybe, I don't want to say that we couldn't achieve. It just seems sometimes it's put on by real estate agents or tour companies or hotels to, kind of put those rankings to get those elements to it. However, I was definitely supportive of it because I do like that aspirational aspect to it. So I liked having America's greatest city under 25K, or specifically recognized as safest city in the state, because I know we have those options. So that's why I wanted to keep them separate. I thought they provided value. The only thing I was nervous about, I said already, actually, I started with something I was nervous about. I'll end with something else I'm nervous about, is when it's national versus state. I tend to like things that are measurable against our neighbors. So whether it's like in Snohomish County as like a 2026 goal, or in Washington State. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. What's on your mind, Connie? There is no right or wrong, by the way, in this exercise.
Right. Well, I don't mind putting all of those things under the same category, but I don't think that America's greatest city under 25,000 is the right major category, because we don't know what that criteria is. We haven't agreed to it. So whether or not those other elements fit under it, I don't know, but they still feel like they have some common elements. The safest, the cleanest, those things are hand in hand with each other, I guess, in my mind. And some of the, the cleanliness actually feeds into the safety too, right? If we have junk and stuff everywhere, it's less safe. but I don't have a suggestion for what the other major category would be.
Okay. Still really, really good input. I'm taking notes while you're doing all this. Mayor Pro Tem?
I wasn't in favor of moving them together in the first place. I voted no. So my reasoning has not changed. I feel like there's so many components in here that everything is going to get lost when we're trying to decide what we want to focus on as our goal. And I have some specific things that I want us to focus on, such as the cleaner streets. And I think the police, the safety, they're their own categories. And really, the greatest city is kind of subjective to different people and what they mean and what they think about that. So I prefer to keep everything out and not underneath that category.
Thank you. Mayor, thoughts?
Hopefully this isn't gonna be judgmental. They should be separate. What I kept thinking of is, I like cycling, because in a bike race, you either race against the clock or you first one to the finish line wins. I don't like sports like figure skating and gymnastics, where it's subjective and someone else is determining how you are. That's why I don't understand what the objective is of a goal of being a greatest city. I don't know how you objectively measure that. I think of US News and World Report's college rankings. And to me, that's not a goal that I would want to aspire to, because I don't know what that means and what that
In
tangibly
other words, it's more
represents.
qualitative than quantitative.
Yes, I use subjective, objective, but that's why I appreciated the chiefs. The safety is one I think we could point to a goal of having something objective ranking that is worthwhile and meaningful. Being ranked as I like some of the sub points. I just not a fan of the greatest idea of being ranked the greatest city, because I don't know what that means. And I mean, if there's 50 or 100 to choose from, we'll spend days trying to figure out which one we wanted to pursue. So.
Thank you.
Well, I'm pretty ambivalent and I could go either way on it, to be honest. I think the word we were looking for, or the term, was the most livable city. And I think that's one of the main criteria used in the United States is the top 100 livable cities in America. And that's what people utilize when they're trying to move somewhere. And they use the criteria that we've listed here: public safety, great trails, great parks, affordability, accessibility. They use all that criteria. And so I see where Sean was going with that. And I probably wouldn't have if he didn't, maybe list that category up there. And I happen to agree with it. I think it makes more sense. Otherwise, you can list 20 more things on there, that we have the best streetlights in America. We have the best logo, in Washington State, all those things. You can go on and on with that minutia. So I think better to categorize it under one, but I could go either way.
So microphone.
Turn your microphone on, John. When you originally asked the question, we have this goal, be the most greatest city. I thought we had to have some criteria to how to measure that. So just to have that statement is an empty statement. So when I put my thumb up, I said, yeah, we should have some criteria. I don't know if we need to have all that criteria. And another thing is criteria or tactics to achieve this. Tactics are really what they are. Tactics to become ranked as the highest city need to be things that we have some control over, that we can impact. For example, housing or the economics, the cleanliness, the safety. But when you start putting things in there like education, I mean, that's going to be the Everett School District. It's really not something we're going to impact. It's a beautiful thing that we have a great education system because of Everett School District. But what criteria can we impact to make us this greatest city under 25,000? So I did kind of like the aspiration. I do want to have some objectives. I don't have to have all of them. I can have some of them. I could have 3 of them. I could have 5 of them. But I think that if we do criteria we do put down as tactics, it needs to be something the city can have an impact on, not just something that we put down is education is great, and if the Everett School District turns out to be a lousy education system, which they're not, but if they were, we don't impact that. We cannot come in and move them around. So I like the aspiration. I like some criteria. I do not need all the criteria. Safety is a great goal to make in and of itself because it's important to our citizens. It is important to our citizens that we know. We've seen reports on it and such. So it is a top criteria.
Well, you're the one that causes problems, Sean, so why don't you take us out of it?
I
I'm
want
just.
to start the year strong. So that's the, I guess would the reason I had the objective I had for such a goal, and I agree actually with just about everything that folks have said. I mean, even though some of the things are different than what folks have said, my objective was, you talked about big, hairy, audacious goals, right? Let's have a BHAG. This is going to be one of a few. This is not the goal. It's one of a group of goals. So what would be a BHAG that the city, the staff, the council could rally around? We're coming up on our 40th year as a city. What could our city pride really say? Hey, we are working towards, or in 4 years from now, we have achieved some designation as being particularly distinctive amongst our peers. This may not be the right way to do it. I mean, it could be something else completely different, but that was the objective. So I'm not wedded to finest, greatest, just about the best, close to above the middle, but something that, I mean, so we were talking about San Diego earlier. San Diego was America's finest city for a while. Then my family moved and fell in the rankings, and it was one of those things. As a small city, it was one of those things that was on the light posts. It was one of those things that, you know, was in the ads and whatnot. We're not that size. I'm not looking at anything like that, but it does have city pride. Even if it's maybe a little finest by who's, no, I mean, LBC is pretty good. San Diego, is that the finest? So any event, those were my objectives. I'm not making a pitch for anything. I just want you to understand my decision process, thought process.
Awesome. Well, I took notes on every single one of you, and I'm a big fan of BHAGs. And when you were talking about, you know, like somebody to rally around, to me, again, just in strategic planning, I've done this 500 times. I wrote a book on it. I teach it at the UW. All that means is I've screwed up more than anyone you've ever met. Don't be impressed. And I have. But I have learned a lot from people far wiser than me. And most of them are like people like you, clients. So the point is that, you know, that kind of rally cry, that pride, that is often in a strategic plan defined by a vision and not a measurable goal. Just kind of observation. So let me share. I just took notes from every single one of you. A couple of you said safest and cleanest is great, but not under best city in America category. In fact, that seemed to be kind of a pervasive thing. It's very vision-esque. Another person, too many components under one category, not good. I'm paraphrasing. Don't like subjective measures, want it to be objective. And that kind of ties into what you said in terms of if you have no control over it, you can't have any impact. One of the key things in performance management, I was the CEO of a large company in an earlier life, is that whenever you're developing performance objectives that you're measuring people on and their merit increase is going to be on it, it has to be absolutely quantifiable, agreed at the beginning of the cycle, and it can only be tied to things that are within their control. So when you say that, I kind of go, yeah, duh, that's absolutely right. I can go either way. I like the most livable city. Objective was to have a BHAG, you know, want a rally point, have pride. And that's where I was saying, because you know, when you said that, I said, oh, it's a BHAG. And I shared the concept. It really struck me. But as we're talking about it, I think maybe it's a little bit more vision-esque. I would not change the vision. The vision is just, you know, it's about exceptional. It's about safety, natural beauty, neighborhoods flourish, businesses thrive, recreational opportunities abound. Is that where you got that? Pretty cool. I love it. Anyway, I mean, there's some really cool stuff in there. Certainly not gonna pick that apart, but two of you did not actually land on one side or the other. One person said they would like it to be under the same, but they did want to pull public safety as a standalone. Another person was kind of neutral, could go either way. And then three people said they wanted to separate. So this was awesome. I really loved hearing from everybody. I think that what is surfacing from this is public safety is standalone. And as cool as being the best city in America, it might not be quantifiable, might not be objective, to use some of your points. Anyway, so I guess if I were counseling you, I'd say not wrap it all under that and, you know, separate these things out. What I would suggest, we go back and look at these. The safety issues are really clear. They all have safety in them. So there's that group. And so I'm gonna have to recode all of these. But I would suggest, which is fine. I mean, I think we're getting past a log jam here.
Hey, Andrew, can I make one comment? Or
Yes.
just a thought too, is on Councilmember Duquesne's thoughts about BHAGs. I think, you know, America, that's huge, big. I think of something that is aspirational is within our county, or even with maybe across our state. To me, that's big. Every day we compete with, we do compete with our
Peer cities.
Municipalities. We've seen it in 2022. We've always seen it, and we bring people from other agencies. We compete for their labor. We compete for their customers. We have probably one of the greatest passport offices, if not in the maybe the state, but the county for sure. We compete in a lot of ways that you don't realize. Just because we're a municipality doesn't mean, and we don't, generate profits doesn't mean that we don't compete. So with that said, I do think though, kind of retracting what I was thinking earlier is that I think my thought is it should be separate. There's so many things here that are very important. Given policing nowadays too, that's things that are happening across the sector. It might be worthwhile to emphasize that by itself, but
Andrew, before you start marking things up.
I was just gonna do the safety thing, because that's almost 100, I mean, it's like a super majority.
Yeah, it should.
But I don't want to miss what you're saying.
Well, first I was gonna say, can I have a motion to extend the regular meeting till 9:30?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
Well, I thought our agenda went to 9:30.
Our agenda does, but we notice a regular meeting from 6 to
Got it,
8:30.
thank you.
A thought just occurred to me that I agree, safety should be separate. All the other items we were talking about rolling up under America's greatest city, to me, the measurable, those should be rolled up under the performance survey of the Mill Creek residents. That to me is the objective standard of whether we're accomplishing those things, not whether some outside organization tells us that we're a greatest city or not. It should be our residents telling us that we're doing those things.
That's some kind of cool thinking. What do y'all think about that?
I like that line of reasoning, and I would even go so far as, instead of trying to be the safest city in the state, bring that back to the residents here and how they rank our city for safety. Yeah, I could maybe go with county.
See, to me, the risk we have of having outsiders judge, what if the people on the outside say, you're great? And we've got residents saying, you guys are screwing up. You haven't done this stuff.
Right.
Seems we have
So
to. we have
looking
to
at the
say-
survey,
But then we tell them we're ranked in the top 100. So what do you know?
Melissa,
I was gonna say, so I really like what Mayor Holtzclaw said about of the new line. I think that's really important. But I do want to remind people that we're gonna vote on these things. So I think for movement, you know, if you weren't really into America's Greatest City, like that one itself, then don't vote
And
for
let
it.
it
to-
stand, don't
Just
cross
let
it
it
out.
stand. Yeah, just leave it alone. Let's just, you know,
Well, that's
And-
fair enough, but where we got confused is what we're rolling things up under. That's where we got sideways.
absolutely. And we were rolling things under to see if there were duplicates, and it seemed like fortunately, unfortunately, not all of us considered some things duplicates and some of us did. And so that's where we're like now past where we were in the agenda for it.
You know, though, I think it was a healthy process, a healthy experience, and after we all kind of heard from each other, you guys have all kind of coalesced around the same tent. So I don't, I respect anybody who thinks it was a waste. As a facilitator,
No,
as a total screw up, I don't think it was a waste. I thought it was
No, not
kind of
at
a
all.
rich conversation.
So we're gonna change the America's Greatest City to better than Bothell. And then that's,
No, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull, see, we're gonna keep the city breaks ground multi-purpose thing with recognized multi-purpose with the sports thing and with the vision. We're keeping that. We are pulling public safety out. We're calling it Mill Creek recognized the safest city in the state, which includes these two big categories: safest streets in the state, have the best police department. That's going to be a category. You can see these giant green circles. These big red ones are the same.
didn't we consolidate strategic plan?
Yeah, we did that.
We already did that one, didn't we?
Yeah, but there's no symbol by it.
Oh, it should be. Where was the one we took out? I crossed one out, I thought.
Yeah, it's.
We did.
It's our vision.
Yeah, right here. Thank you. So there, but
We combined it with on the right, the Mill Creek
yeah, no,
adopts.
to your
and-
point is that they
and-
weren't coded.
Yeah, Mill Creek adopts and immortalizes 5-year strategic
Yeah.
plan.
So I'm gonna do that as a green triangle.
Yep.
So we don't lose that. Great. Okay, hey,
Where's the red circle though for strategic plan?
It's not a red circle, it's a
it's a
triangle.
green triangle.
We consolidated yours and mine.
Yeah, they're green triangles.
Oh, okay, I thought we consolidated under a theme and we should be voting on the red dots you put up there.
No,
No,
the
the
red
red
dots are
dots is
about the
the-
multi-purpose civic center.
That's the DRC.
I'll get this clear in everybody's head. But yeah, no, you are now, the strategic plan, the 5-year immortalization, that's a green triangle. The thing about the civic center, the D property, those are all these filled in big red circles. And then the police department are very, very large green circles. I had to I've recategorized 3 times, and so I'm just getting a little bit creative. So,
And then Brian's comment, sorry, but that was good.
could you remind me of it? I was playing with colors.
It went to the, I'm sorry, the what?
Well, you were saying recognize as top city by our citizens.
Oh, when we were talking about rolling things up, we were talking rolling up under the bullet for America's Greatest City designation. And I was suggesting that if we were going to roll anything up, it'd be to the performance survey.
To achieve 90% positive remarks on the
Right.
survey. So what would you put underneath that? So we got this as a,
That's all I'd say.
it's all, well, that means the 4th straight year of the rated cleanest city, I need to put back up there as a separate, because this rolled up underneath that.
I was thinking he was saying, maybe I'm wrong.
We got 2 different conversations going. Let's stick with his. Okay,
I think we are.
so which one are we gonna put underneath the 90% positive? Cleanest?
This where it gets confusing. Mill Creek was the greatest city. And what I heard me do is incorrect, but the greatest city as recognized by its citizens with a 90%. Ranking.
Oh, so you're just grouping these 2.
That's what I thought you
You guys,
No, what I was referring to was we were talking about how to roll up the safest streets and the cleanest and those sort of things. I was suggesting those be rolled up into the performance survey of our residents as
well,
opposed to.
we're not gonna unpack something we've already agreed to. Everything with safe in it is going under this. We're not gonna reverse engineer.
No, he's saying, no, safety stays there.
Okay,
Okay.
well, if those are going under safety, then I think we leave the America's Greatest and the citizen one as Melissa said, those are separate standalone and we're not rolling anything up into them.
Great. So let's get back on track for consolidation. Is there another category that we haven't already covered that's really clear? Let me read the ones that we haven't talked about. Oh, yes.
Yeah, now that we've went through all that, can we go back to my the discussion on whether to add in combine the Mill Creek becomes #1 small business magnet as
Oh, and the
well
tech
as
hub?
the tech hub. Could those somehow
Of course, absolutely.
combine together? And do we need to reword to encompass?
Well,
'Cause-
let's find out what people think. I mean, I get what you're saying. Being a tech hub is in fact a magnet. So what do the other council members think about Stephanie's suggestion to put the business magnet and being a tech hub together? Yes,
I'd like to hear from Martin a little bit more on that tech hub, because I think he's the one who added it in
he did.
to make sure we're not adding in our own definition to tech hub.
Good thinking.
Well, over the past year, I've had a few discussions with community members regarding technology and the impact that would have on the city of Mill Creek from an economic standpoint. A lot of things are probably, it's very aspirational, I know, but it specifically is bringing technology into the city, specifically technology only industries, whether it's climate related, software, hardware, connectivity, anything.
Yeah,
So
but
it's
your
very
point-
specific to technology hub.
Yeah.
It's not just general business.
20% of the cities in Puget Sound identify that they want to be a tech hub. So this
Correct,
is, what he's talking about isn't new. It's not novel.
Yeah. That's my comment.
Yeah, I mean, it includes broadband, it includes a bunch of stuff.
It's not general business. It's specifically tech.
Yeah. And it's about being wired, fiber. There's so many things under that category. Go ahead.
So then based off of that, I would want to keep the small business aspect separate than tech hub, because it looks like that's two industries. Potentially, there could be some overlap.
Small business, more general, tech hub. very
Right, because when I heard the phrase small business, I thought of the Main Street mom and pop like stores in terms of like having the people, cobblers, back again, like those, kind of not necessarily craftsman work, but more of those types of businesses than anything that was over 50. That doesn't mean there's not crossover, but I had understood it as two separate. So for time, I would recommend to keep it separate.
Does anybody have heartburn over that? Okay, seems like it makes sense. So what I'd like to do is closing the consolidation portion. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read only the ones that are left. If you got something like this, breaks ground in the multi-purpose civic center, I'm not gonna read all the sub bullets. We're gonna try to separate signal from noise. Okay, city breaks ground on multi-purpose civic center. America's finest, greatest, best city, top 100, whatever. But that's the aspiration. Mill Creek sub area plan comes to fruition. Redo City Hall North. City balances 6 consecutive budgets. So clearly a budget and finance thing. City has yard for equipment and materials. Achieve a 90% positive rating on the city heading in the right direction. Connection with all city parks and trails, civic, artistic, recreational activities abound. Would that fall under this?
Yes, I thought we talked about.
We talked about the other one, not this one, but this is what he had said. And then all of a sudden I realized that was his vision. So I'm gonna put this with this. Everybody good? Okay, cool.
Got it.
Even a blind squirrel bumps into a peanut once in a while, right? Civic Center. Okay, that's why I was going right to you, because I thought that's what you were referencing. City becomes #1 small business magnet. We've agreed that the tech hub is a different thought.
Andrew, are you gonna cross that out too? So it doesn't, you put the circle by, but you didn't cross it out. The civic,
You guys are catching me for doing things for not doing things I'm supposed to do. No. And you know me, if I thought you were wrong, I'd be the first to point it out. Whether I'm right or wrong, doesn't matter, right? I'm still gonna.
Hey, if I want to give you that pleasure.
You were right, and I did miss that, and thank you. Mill Creek, because we did that one. Mill Creek adopts and immortalizes 5-year strategic plan, recognized for smart growth excellence.
I have a question on that one. A question for the maker of Mill Creek sub-area plan comes to fruition, which I think was Vince. Those two are related on a broad.
Actually, you're the one that came up with it.
No, Vince did.
Vince
Really?
did.
Oh, I thought the
So
immortalization.
those two are related on a bigger planning scale, but I'm not sure if you're, because those two could go together if you look at it holistically at a
Which
city level.
two are you saying that could go together?
Mill Creek sub-area plan comes to fruition and the recognized for smart growth. They're
And we're
related, but that's
asking-
why I'm asking him if he.
We're
was
asking the
narrowly-
generator of this.
No, I'm asking the generator of the sub-area, the third one.
Right, no, yeah, but you're asking the generator of the 5-year plan,
No,
if this
no,
could go
no.
underneath it.
No. Smart growth, the one below it. Recognized for smart, yes, that one.
Well, this one came from Sean.
I understand that, but I'm asking, to me, that's a planning concept, which encompasses the sub-area.
Oh, I
Asking
gotcha.
Vince whether or not he was narrowly
Yeah.
focused on the
That
sub-area.
could be sub
or
bullets
whether
to the
he
big
agrees
plan.
They could be combined.
Smart
Okay.
growth excellence and sub area plan.
You good with that, Sean, since you came up with that? Okay. Hey, very cool. And that was a really big one here. So sub growth is going to be the green triangle.
No.
I thought this was going under the strategic plan.
No, it's different. Mill Creek sub-area plan, that one right there, combine it with, yes.
Right. But you don't want that under the strategic plan?
No, that's a different strategic plan is something entirely different.
Okay,
It's not the
I'm gonna
compre-
make that a black rectangle.
And I would, if Vince would agree, I would put the sub-area plan comes to fruition under the smart growth. Smart growth is more encompassing.
Yeah, does that make sense?
So I don't truly care, but the sub area, the sub area is the topic that we're talking about. So I think that word should stay in there. Just
Well, we're saying combining them.
We haven't figured out how we combine them.
What you suggested is that this be the dominant and this be the subordinate. And what you're suggesting is the vice versa.
I see both ways, but I think when we are talking about stuff we're doing, we're talking about the sub area. So I think my reasoning would lean towards Vince is only for that reason. Although I do realize that the sub area is planning for smart growth. I just don't know that everybody knows what that means.
Well, I tell you what,
When you do it, they
putting
know
them
we're doing the sub
together
area.
is the most important thing. And if it
Yes.
goes to the top, then we can reword it any way you want to.
They go together. I think there's
Okay.
agreement on that.
Since Vince brought it up, was it
Let's use his as the dominant.
we're gonna go with this one.
Yep.
We're not losing this.
No.
We're just not voting on it. If it bubbles up to the top, we're gonna use this language with that language to frame the thing. Cool, good work. Awesome. That was a great catch. Anything, let me finish reading. This is where I left off. Mill Creek becomes #1 tourist destination. Mill Creek recognizes the best place to work. Mill Creek developed technology hub. We know that that's separate. Mill Creek maximizes on upcoming light rail. Update annexation policies and or redefine. And then finally, Mill Creek recognized as the safest city in the state. It sounds like you've kind of consolidated the crap out of this.
Who had the maximizes on light rail? Was that Melissa?
That was new.
Naomi, do you think that could be part of the sub area? I'm not sure if you were
Think back to
thinking
your
from a land
intention.
use perspective or.
Yeah, it was more regarding economic growth, not,
Okay.
not necessarily people living here, but stopping here, right? For the small businesses, more economic growth.
So would that go under the tourist as Mill Creek becomes #1 tourist destination?
Yes. And small business. Maybe more tourism too, because I'm also thinking like the city of Edmonds is a creative district. They are known as that certified creative district. And small businesses go there because they're a certified creative district. So they have a lot of different kinds of businesses there and that are attracted. That's like the magnet that goes there. So when it's accessible, then businesses like to go there, right? So that's what I was thinking with the light rail. If people would stop there, oh, it's along, I heard about Mill Creek, I want to check out this shop, and then one shop to the next, and then the community starts to revitalize that way.
But do you think that
You got to turn your mic on.
that maybe the light rail is just a component of the sub area, or?
I think she was going more with the tourism. You used the tourism word.
I mean, both might fall under it. I mean, isn't that the grand vision of the sub area?
It is. It definitely is. As long, it is with that sub area where that creative district, that designation could come underneath that. And a creative district doesn't necessarily mean all arts. So like in the city of Edmonds, they just had this Moto Pizza come in. It's a very popular pizza place downtown Seattle. And this Moto Pizza came there just because it was a creative district. So that's just an example of a creative district, but it's not all arts. It's somebody, there's a designation there and then they know people go there. So it's
kind of a what and a why. You can't put everything under one category. So what are we doing here? I want us to finish this.
I'm hearing that it's not an independent one, that it could fit under either of those other two if either of those rise to the top.
I hear,
All three of them?
what I hear is light rail, small business and tourist all incorporated under one theme here. That's what I'm hearing.
Would sub area be part of that theme?
No.
No, it's different.
That's different.
No, what she's talking about is how do we help build the businesses, How do we help grow tourism? One of the ways to do that is to, define how to get here and why to come here. And that will build the tourist and build the business.
So would you please share the three? Because I'm going to ask for a thumbs exercise. Make your proposal. No, I mean, just read what's up here. Don't come up with anything new.
Oh, just which one I would use for the lead?
No, which one? would you
Just,
do?
tell me the three you want to put together in
Oh,
one category.
Mill Creek becomes #1 tourist destination,
Got it. What else?
light rail.
Light rail.
Maximize light rail. And where is business?
small business.
Small
Right
business.
here.
Mill Creek becomes #1 small business. Yeah, site.
Which one would you see as the dominant? Would it be Mill Creek Small Business, a tourism destination, or maximizing light rail?
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
light rail. I think it's light rail.
I
think that's a vehicle to get to the.
Yeah, what Mike's saying is that it's a new category about, attracting people and business.
That's what it really is, because my challenge with making it a goal, focus on light rail, is we're looking at goals for the next 4 years and light rail isn't gonna be here till 27.
Yeah, she's not talking light rail.
So light rail gets sold in which.
That's what her.
Oh, I thought she was talking about.
Maximizing upcoming light rail.
I thought she was talking about the. I can't hear you, Michael. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's what Grant was saying, maximizing the regional transportation.
That was it. Yeah.
There we go.
Maximizing.
That's what I heard is maximizing regional transportation was under a bigger category. And Mike actually shared a category with you all, and it had to do with attracting people in business.
I think they fit together if you change light rail to regional transit. I think that, I think that ties it all in.
And does that mean all of those go underneath the regional transit? I think it's a wrong category.
Yeah, I do too. I think we need to, I think it'd be under the tourist destination, but we need to rename that, not now.
Well, he just did,
What was it?
attracting people in business.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, and if it sub was up, what's that, Connie?
Said who wrote the tourist item? Do they have a problem with rewriting
I
it?
don't
to
remember
that?
who suggested that.
Yeah.
Vince?
Rewrite away.
He just wants to move on. No, I get it. Okay, we're gonna create a new category and put all three of those under that. If it bubbles up to the top, we'll make it pretty.
Yeah, we could.
Okay, so it's the tourist thing. I gotta come up with a new code.
Octagon.
That's a great idea. Number 8. I'm gonna do a blue star. Love it. Thank you, Mike Todd. What was the other one?
Business.
Oh, it's right here. Well, it's the max, yeah.
Yes, that was it.
And the business, thank you, all four of them. All three of them go under the new category.
Yeah, cross.
I do, I'll cross everything out except for that. Okay, are we good to move on to prioritization? Unless somebody sees an obvious grouping, that's what I would recommend. Pardon me?
This prioritize.
Okay, so I want to go over the process again for all of you, but also in terms of the dots for Sean. So everybody gets a strip of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Your 1 is for your first choice, your favorite. Your 2 is for your second favorite choice, 3 for third. You cannot put more than one sticky dot on a bullet. You have to choose 3 separate items. Does that make sense? And by the way, the dots are not created equal. Your number 1 vote counts as 3 points. Number 2 counts as 2. Your third choice counts as 1. So they are weighted. So, you know, you're not just sticking them up there, you're thinking about it because it will make a difference. You're going to be sticking your dot directly underneath the one you're choosing, and we'll go from left to right. This is so I can tabulate 21 dots. If I got some over here and some here around, it's just not going to work, right? Please, left to right underneath the one you're choosing. And everything that doesn't have a line through it is fair play for a dot. Anything with red lines through it, you can't put a dot on. I think I covered everything. Oh, the other really important thing is that your facilitator is super anal retentive. His wife thinks he was potty trained at gunpoint. Okay, so go ahead and vote. Just get up there organically and do it. And as soon as you're done voting, please have a seat because that'll tell me when I can tabulate. And I will set up for our next exercise. Would you lose?
Well, the fourth straight year for being a city and state, it was square. We didn't, well, but we.
No, but she's right. It has a line through it
out.
because we had put it up here. Oops,
Yeah.
sorry. So, no, we're not putting, we weren't putting it under anything.
Yeah. I know. I got
That's the hard part, is making trade-offs.
No, we all green.
No, I'm not gonna get out of the way. Oh, hey, thanks. Thanks, buddy. Why was I hanging around here? So much. Very glad you think for me to take away.
I don't, I just took it back. Thank you, though.
No.
Yep.
So I'm assuming if you're sitting, you've already voted.
No, I was gonna get up. Yeah, I want to keep it out of my way. I'm not king.
Oh, you haven't voted?
No, I want all these people hanging around talking. I have enough space.
Find out if that, I guess I'll ask more.
No, we're talking with them about it. It hasn't, it's not up for sale.
It is not.
Well, it's not on the market, but we've been, there's some other stuff going on with it. But there's some, there's a little bit of. Huh?
I had flat pizza. And sausage and like pork belly soup if you like. Pepperoni, meatballs. I mean, it looks like it's
Yeah.
weird.
Oh.
Very. But you could add a no meat in it as. The crab.
Yeah. Where you going? Where you going? Just happen to run with that. It was before, it was December. Oh, it was.
Is there people talking right now?
Oh, no. Yes and no.
Okay,
We're doing math.
Roger that.
Simple man.
I thought our mics went dead for a second. Okay, thank you.
So everyone's mumbling while the math is being done.
Okay.
Oh, as you work, I understand. I'm the same way. That's one of the answers. And that can actually, whatever. We gotta make annexations into that. Okay. I got dragon breath. Thank you.
We need the finance director to verify the results.
My cleanest made it to the report. I'm so happy. Thank you to everybody for participating.
You know, he won 4.
Okay, if I can get everybody back together, you're
Did
already.
you win one with us?
So this is the process.
Did he win one with
By
us?
the way, in your report,
Did he win one?
all of that is going to be in the report. You're not going to lose any of your work. Because there are some other things that got dots. You guys were spread around a lot. There's a lot of 2s and 3s up here. The big one at 13 votes, which by the way is, you know, more than double the second, third, and fourth place, which are all high. I mean, the big thing, the city breaks ground on multi-purpose civic center. At 5 votes, Mill Creek sub-area plan comes to fruition. Also at 5 votes, Mill Creek recognized as the safest city in the state. Also at 5 votes, the 4th grade year, Mill Creek rated the cleanest. And at 4 votes in 5th place, Mill Creek adopts and immortalizes 5-year strategic plan. So Our last step is framing. So, at this point, what I would suggest, back on, at this point, what I would suggest is not to get really hung up on one word and wordsmith this thing to death, because that doesn't usually put together a better product. My goal is that in a half hour, we can actually frame all 5 and we'll have accomplished everything with some really good, deep discussion. Okay, so a lot of these are close, but we need to kind of. City breaks ground on multi-purpose civic center. Oh, let's go take a look at what else was there. Recognized for almost the same thing. Sports. Civic, artistic, recreational, vision. So,
I think that was the one change we had talked about that we decided we would hold the wordsmithing is the city breaks ground on vision of multi-purpose civic center.
excellent. Could you repeat the whole thing again?
City breaks ground
on vision of.
on vision of multi-purpose civic center.
It's so multi-purpose, we know that includes arts,
Art, sports.
civic culture,
community.
sports.
Mike, did you want to say something?
Well, I'm going to say that the term here, this discussion back here, civic center typically means like a city hall, a police department, those things. I don't think you meant that by that terminology. I think you were talking about multi-use recreational properties or some other side. If you're going to memorialize this, I think just be careful of what people read civic center to mean, because it could be a library, it could be a police department, it could be public works yard.
In the city of Spokane, it's their theater.
Yeah,
Well-
so you gotta be careful with that. Civic center means a lot of words.
So
I'm
Mike,
suggesting.
do you have a
term.
suggestion of another title?
We've talked about multi-use recreational properties. If recreational doesn't cover it, then you've got to figure something else out. And
Yeah,
we've been using that, not civic center.
The reason I thought it was Civic Center was though I've been reading about grant donations to like Silver Lake that got like $1 million for their new Civic Center, which is basically the same thing that we're talking about, a bunch of multi-purpose rooms that could be used by the city groups, organizations, associations, and for rental by the city. And so I think they're, Civic Center, I've seen it used. I've seen it, like you're saying, but I've also seen it used as that terminology of Civic Center for the citizens to use for a bunch of, an unlimited number of organizations. Its idea is to propagate that type of involvement in the planning of your city and the involvement of your city and, getting citizens involved in organizations, nonprofits, Rotaries, Kiwanis, all that kind of stuff, giving them a place to meet and giving them a place to go to. So when they were talking about it in the grant writing, it was Civic Center. That's how they called it out.
I think what he's distinguishing is possibly a dictionary definition from the common understanding. And I think the common understanding is different from a dictionary definition. What if we just said community facility, multi-purpose community facility?
Yeah, I like that.
Does that
Vince,
encompass?
you were going to chime in?
So I did look up the common definition of civic center, and it says a municipal building or building complex often publicly financed with space for conventions, sports events, and theatrical entertainment. So I don't know if that, I don't know if that's the wrong use.
Yeah.
Stephanie?
Yeah, I think, I'm trying to think how to say this properly. I think what Mike is trying to allude to is that in the past, we have had some upset in the community when there was discussions over building a new city hall. And we don't want to give impressions by our wording that that's what we're thinking
Well,
about.
and Brian, I think, was talking about, the common dictionary thing and what people
Right.
understand. So my question is, does anybody have any heartburn on just calling this a community facility or a community center?
I don't.
And then you could look, you do? And we
I
could
don't,
actually
I agree.
comma, we could say, for arts, sports, or recreation. I mean, we could actually call out the couple categories, so it's explicit.
I would just leave it at multi-purpose community facility would be my vote. I don't know what others think.
I got 2 thumbs. 3 thumbs, so that's 4, 5, okay. Okay, excellent. All we have to do to smart this is put a date on it. When do you want to break ground?
I have a good comment.
Okay,
I really do have a heartburn about city breaks ground. And the reason
okay.
why,
You talked about that before.
yeah,
and I
we were
held
gonna
you up.
talk about it now.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
you
it.
said I could. To me, city breaks ground means you start something.
Yeah,
All right, I think it'd be far more powerful to have a completion. We complete
Opens.
this. Yeah, or not opens, but completes.
okay.
However you want to do it. I think a city breaks ground is, we could come up with a better definition in wordsmithing in that area that at this point, we have achieved a multi-purpose community facility and that's where I had brought up a couple of things in one of the crossed out lines. City vision becomes a reality with multi-purpose development of civic property. So city vision becomes reality with multi-purpose community facility.
I like,
What do you think about that? He's just talking about the completion date rather than the start date. Is it possible
Well,
to have it
realize
completed
is-
in 4 years? It
that's
is a
why,
4-year plan.
that's why I use breaks ground but I think your suggestion of realizes vision we could realize the vision if we broke ground or if we completed it. It leaves it
Either way,
ambiguous.
and we
So
get the
I-
funding or we,
I like that change. So city.
Everybody okay with that change? Lots of thumbs up.
So city realizes vision.
city
on-
vision becomes a reality. City
That's good.
vision becomes a reality. City vision or materializes, whatever.
No, yeah, it's
Becomes
fine.
a reality with multi-purpose community facility.
Okay. I'm gonna, because there's so many changes, I gotta put it small so I can get it right, because that's really good editing.
Be nice to have in parentheses, sometimes referred to as a civic center, parentheses.
Can I put, as suggested by Big John?
Yeah, put my name in there, yeah.
Your wife said on the way down.
Yeah, she said, don't repeat things. That's all she said. Only say it once. Don't say it over and over again. Yeah. My wife did give me instructions on what to do here. I'm not allowed to repeat. But if you want to put my. Tell Big John to keep his mouth shut, say it once.
Okay, this is what I got for our final. City vision becomes a reality with a multi-purpose community facility. Drop the mic, nice work. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Drop the pen. I was trying to be so cool in front of my students at the U, and something just happened and the whole class just started running. I said, drop the mic, and I dropped my remote. It exploded on the floor. There goes $100. Me trying to be cool, just being stupid. Okay, Mill Creek sub-area plan comes to fruition. By the way, remember, all of these are based on a time horizon of the end of 2026.
I like it the way it is because I think it's consistent with how we just revised the first one. Come to fruition can mean a bunch of different things and it doesn't get specific.
And so,
I'm good with it.
so I kind of figured you were thumbs up, everybody?
I have a comment.
Okay, I also didn't get a thumbs up from Melissa. Go ahead with your comment, then I'm gonna go to Melissa.
Okay. Oh, you go first. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I liked it, when it was the other way around, when it was, the original language, because remember when we combined the two, so whatever that other one, I liked it because it's the sub area we're talking about that specific section and there was still lots of talk
Smart
and
growth.
yeah, I really like the smart growth, but I'm happy. I just wanted to be the one that said no to this. It seems everyone's happy with it. I can be a sideways if that
Can
makes things
somebody-
move forward.
Can somebody
But how do
define
we-
smart growth?
Oh, we only have 25 minutes left.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
No, I
but
mean,
it's
how do
still
we
a big-
memorialize that it's the sub area if we don't mention the word sub area?
That's what I was gonna, that was my comment.
No, she was talking about how do we incorporate smart growth into that concept.
Yeah, and it's the same place I was going. The sub area plan, the challenge we've got with that one is it's not our land, it's somebody else's, so bringing that to fruition means we're gonna have to come up with a plan. And to execute against, that, we've got to talk to landowner into, agreeing to sell it and restruct and, redo the zoning. So what I think is important is the word sub area plan is a good one. I do like the idea of sub area plan being a part of smart growth. So those two together, we have a very important goal that we're struggling with, which is growth for our city and how we're going to achieve growth. And that sub area plan was part of that growth plan. That was one area that we wrote a plan for, that we brought a consultant in and representatives and wrote a plan for. So I think the sub area plan and our smart growth plan, sub area should be part of the smart growth plan, that we're going to start coming up with solutions on our growth. We have to do that. I mean, by 2026, right?
No, by 2024.
By 2024, even more important. And there's no way.
Well, no, 2026 is the sunset for this.
For these goals. 2024 is our goal with the feds for coming up with meeting the housing needs of our city. And the sub area plan does include housing. It's taking away pure retail and adding retail and housing together.
So we're talking about the sub area being an important element and the smart growth for excellence. So does somebody have a proposal, maybe putting those two
I
together?
think Mike wants to say something.
So 2024 is when your comp plan's got to be done. And then you could say 2 years later, 2026, we would have implemented the code changes required by the comp plan. Which would say you've got the codes in place that if you decide sub-area plan is where you want to go, remember that's one of your options. But there's going to be other things there'll be code changes that happen. So giving us a couple of years to decide what those are after you adopt the comp plan might be a reasonable 2026 thing.
Yeah.
That was my thought.
Yeah, because come to fruition, I never assumed all we do is the planning. That's it. So that's coming to fruition is the plan itself. Yeah. Yeah.
So there might be pushback.
So do you have a suggestion on rewording that based on what you just said?
I think it's
Because you came up with something really good the last time you did this. We actually used it.
Yeah, I think I said implement the code changes required by our 2024 code plan, comp plan. But Brian is smarter at this stuff than I am.
But you guys want the sub area as part of that.
I think the sub area is one element of our comp plan.
Yes,
That
that's
talks
my
about
point.
smart growth. I think you're gonna adopt a comp plan that's gonna be smart growth as far as you guys are concerned and the community is concerned. And if you're looking for a 2026 horizon on that, it's not just adopting the plan in 2024. 2026 is probably implementing those codes, which sets it up for private developers to build something cool. Or they're gonna wait for 10 years because the market won't be right.
So I think it's different because where this is kind of a standalone, like DRCC, not the entire comp plan. That's why we're putting the word sub area in there, is that's what we're looking to do, is that region of the city, not the entire plan. I mean, just like DRCC, right? That's the number one that we're talking about. So.
But they both are going to get done at the same time. We don't get to choose to do one we could choose not to do the sub area plan when we get there. I think maybe the way we reword it is that our comprehensive plan update, including a Mill Creek sub area plan, come to fruition.
I like that. I just don't want to keep it as
Something like that.
the sub area plan should be there, but not the standalone.
Yeah.
It needs to have the smart growth as part of it.
What do the rest of you think
I like
about
what you
that?
said.
A lot of thumbs up. Would you say it again?
So comprehensive plan update, comma, comprehensive plan update, comma, including the Mill Creek sub area plan, comma, comes to
Just a
fruition.
second. I'm just on the first update. Comprehensive plan update, comma.
Mill Creek, including the Mill Creek sub area plan, comma, comes to fruition. I think that encompasses it. I mean,
Yeah, here's the caution. Because when we talked about Mill Creek Boulevard sub-area plan, there was some consternation about that. And so you did not adopt that plan.
Right.
You accepted that
Yeah.
report
Right.
as advice into your comp plan process. If the 7 of you now are saying, let's go ahead with the Mill Creek Boulevard sub-area plan, maybe that's cool, but is that what you want? Are you ready to announce that to the community through this?
I think we're asking to create a plan for the sub area,
Right.
not necessarily that plan.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that plan.
Yeah,
Well,
so be
fine.
careful in the wordsmithing so that it doesn't get grabbed and run out the door.
Yeah, that could be a soundbite for,
I'm worried about the sound bite there.
yeah, I know
That's-
exactly what you're thinking. Yeah, we're not agreeing to the
Is-
sound,
is-
the sub-area plan that was presented.
Grant, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm finished. My wife told me not to talk.
I was trying to just consolidate the two concepts, which is the Mill Creek comprehensive plan, including a smart growth sub-area plan for Mill Creek Boulevard come to fruition.
I like that better.
Is that what you're trying to accomplish?
That's fine.
Yeah. Say that again. And say it slowly.
Council, yes.
I got the comprehensive plan
You're
update.
talking to the guy that gets paid by the word to say. it
Yeah,
slowly.
you get paid by the hour. Go slower.
You must be an attorney.
It says the comprehensive plan, including a smart growth plan for the Mill Creek Boulevard sub-area.
Including a smart plan growth.
Smart growth plan
Oh, smart growth plan. Got it.
for the Mill Creek sub-area come to fruition.
I do too. Yeah, that's right. We get to come back. We get to sleep on it.
Okay. That's more specific. A facilitator is never going to get upset about more specificity. Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, number 3. We got about 15 minutes left. Mill Creek recognized as the safest city in the state. Well, that's a headline. So the point is, it's about safety. It's about public safety. It's about our police. It's about safe streets. So the idea is we're not going to word the goal as if we're winning an award. The goal is about improving, enhancing. You know what I mean?
But why couldn't it just be just like that?
Well, see if your colleagues are okay with that.
I mean, isn't that like a,
Have we been recognized as the safest city in the state?
This is a goal.
that'd be the goal, within the next.
How would we be recognized, Chief, as the
Yeah,
safest
that's-
city in the state? Is there a mechanism for that?
Per capita, based on capita.
Okay, Chief.
So it would come back to, it would come back to some of the same subjective resources that we would refer to earlier. And there's a lot of places out there, there's a lot of surveys that rate cities for different categories as the safest. So yes, there is an annual safest cities in Washington survey. Depends on which one we would choose. But it's all based off of, like I said, crimes, violent crimes, property crimes, crimes reported through the FBI. And then as well as some of the other items that they're characteristic or that they're utilizing are population and department size. So in other words, how much resources do we have towards law enforcement? And how do we apply that to the population that we have to handle calls for service? And those types of things, as well as proactive patrol, officers utilizing their discretionary time. So there's a lot of factors that go into how do we determine the safe cities in the state.
Chief, is there a nomenclature, existing nomenclature for the safest city? You were talking about some of the stats that go into that. I mean, it's just like we're talking about, one of America's 100 greatest cities. Is there actually an existing nomenclature for what you're talking about, a name for that survey?
I think there are several. So I think that
Okay.
what Councilmember Paddock was talking about was actually kind of spot on. I think that it's a statement in its own to be recognized as the safest city in Washington State. It's a very lofty
Okay.
goal, but
We could just
I'm willing to accept that
wordsmith it to
challenge.
say Mill Creek will be recognized as the safest city in the state, again, 2026.
Take the will, no, don't take the will be out. I mean, the goal is to be that.
Right, but it's not a vision of, so it's an aspiration.
Yeah,
You can talk a vision into what's already happened. This hasn't already happened. So it would be to become, Mill Creek will become recognized.
How about Mill Creek recognized as a safe city?
Yeah, and I was just gonna say is that like if we start applying the SMART statements and we make them attainable, realistic, by 2026, that's not that long from now. We're not the worst off, but we're not in the top 10. So that's a lofty goal.
Chief, what if we based it on population?
Well, do we,
Like that.
do we need to,
Simple-
do we
simple
need,
criteria.
do we need to decide as part of the goal
controllable.
how we measure it? Isn't our goal to be recognized as a safe city? And one of the tasks would be to identify how we want to measure that?
Yes, you can do that.
So I like the way it's worded, and then we figure out later how we define how we meet
Stephanie?
that goal.
I like what the mayor is saying, and then I wanted to bring us back, Connie had brought up earlier when we were discussing, and I think this could maybe be helpful to tie it to the question on the survey, the annual survey, where we're asking, please rate the following statement, I feel safe in Mill Creek. And we could put some parameters on how high we want that agree or strongly agree.
Well, but if we leave it like it is, we could later decide if we want to measure it that way, if we want to go to some state statistics or some other form of measurement that we don't have in front of us tonight.
If we eliminate the word state and just put Mill Creek recognized as a safe city, I think that kind of does it.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that covers a lot of what. the
Well,
discussion's
everybody's hand went up.
Yeah,
The thumbs up.
But would be, but it needs to have the would be recognized, like, cause we're saying that's our
Or
goal.
Would be or will be.
Will be, yeah, but we need that, we have to change the sentence to be part of this framework.
It's not really aspirational though, if you call yourself a safe city as opposed to the safest city.
Everybody had their thumb up. Maybe you didn't.
I did. My thumb was down.
Okay,
So
so it was 6-7, but go ahead.
no, I think keeping safest in there is important. And I think the mayor has said it a few times. We can set a criteria to how we want to measure that, or we could make it based, as Pro Tem said, based on the citizens recognize Mill Creek as the safest city. And we can work with that, but I do think that a safe city is not very aspirational as a goal. But, if I'm one.
So you're suggesting Mill Creek will be recognized as the safest city?
As the safest city as safest city or something like that. I didn't want to be safe city. That was my concern with safe city.
Safest city, and we can define how we measure that later.
Right, but I wanted safest.
And we can use,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, and we can use the KPIs from, our statistics versus
Yeah.
national averages as well. So, because we'll get all that information. There is a study that comes out and WASPIC will help us with that.
Okay, we've got 10 minutes to do our last two. The fourth straight year, Mill Creek is rated the cleanest.
Isn't 5 easy?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty much done.
Number 5? Oh, the title is, yeah.
Consensus on that one
Okay,
doesn't need
adopts.
wordsmithing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this essentially is about, being clean.
5 years from when?
I'm shocked. That's number 4. I'm sorry.
So help us rewrite it.
We're clean.
Well, I want the streets to be clean, the sidewalks need to be clean, be recognized as being clean, the medians to be nice and clean and graffiti free, shiny and crisp.
Garbage
I
pickup.
agree with all that, but when we say the fourth straight, that implies that we're gonna
I
have that
know.
rating next year.
Was the headline.
Doing that thing, so that's. why
Yeah, no. This is a good headline. We're framing it now as a goal.
Okay.
This is the right process. I'm just writing down what you're saying, streets, sidewalks, medians, and clean. So with that, ask your colleagues to help you frame it.
Yes, please, colleagues, help me frame this. And also, I didn't bring this up because I thought we would be done, but I have to be home to get my kid from the sitter in 10 minutes.
we've been using clean, safe, well-maintained, which is one of the goals in there. And so maybe the clean and well-maintained part is, that's
Ooh.
what you're talking about.
Yes,
That's on a lot of walls around here. So we won't have to change the signs.
clean and well maintained.
Okay, clean and well maintained. So let's use that
But rated
to
by
frame
who?
the statement.
Rated by who?
Yeah.
Huh?
Rated by who?
Graded by who?
Rated.
By the
Rated by
citizens.
who? By the residents.
And I'll say the safe was in there. We're using that, so that's tripping hazards on sidewalks, that kind of safety, as opposed to these guys are keeping me from getting burglarized.
What was,
that's
the-
why we're
what was the
clean.
phrase again?
Clean, safe, and well-maintained.
So why don't we change it to residents recognize city streets as
Clean, safe, and well. Or clean, green, safe. and
Well,
well, or we could just do what we got here, Mill Creek residents.
just that Grant had a comment.
What was it? Recognize?
Yeah, Grant's got a comment.
No, it's really a question, kind of a reframing question for Mayor Pro Tem. Were you intending to encompass some element of environmental stewardship in that as well? In other words, you know, are you, when you talk about clean, are you talking about also environmentally
Green?
green? Yeah.
I honestly was just talking about clean.
When
Just
I.
clean of debris, everything, you know, nice and painted and the median's clean, the plants look nice, just that overall, when you look around, everything is clean.
When I weighed in on that one, I was thinking about a book that I recently read. It's called Time to Think Small, and it talks about how small cities can have the biggest impact just by making sure they use their street sweepers on a regular basis, get the brake dust off. So, you know, as I drive through, I think about that while I'm looking at all the tree sludge that's all over our streets right now, right? So, I had that element in my mind.
Why not just do something as simple as Mill Creek streets, sidewalks, and medians are clean, safe, and well maintained?
As judged by, so right, what's the,
Oh, the residents thing.
okay, so it's gonna be
So
the,
work the residents thing in.
Mill Creek residents recognize what you just, and exactly what you had.
Mill Creek residents recognize our streets, sidewalks, median and medians are clean, safe, and well maintained.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, Mill Creek adopts and memorializes a 5-year strategic plan.
No, did you say memorializes or immortalizes?
What word?
Memorializes.
Memorializes.
I thought you were saying
Yeah, that
was like Immoralized?
every other paragraph.
that's why I was so confused.
No, it's memorialized. That was, you
Okay.
make it something that's real. that you
I'll,
see.
I'll stop being judgmental.
Oh my goodness. I think I'm in the kitchen. Yeah, the gutter.
I thought you were saying immortalizes. and I'm
Oh, that is
like,
immoral.
No,
That's what I thought he said too. That's what I wrote. Mill Creek adopts and memorializes a 5-year strategic plan.
Bingo.
Okay, nice work, everybody. You're done. There's still a little bit of polish that needs to go in there because frankly, they're not all smart. But not every goal can be quantifiable. At the bottom line, you know, at least at the tactical level, Martin's going to need some KPIs he can measure against to report back. But that's it.
Great, thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Andrew.
Good job, all you guys.
Martin, did you have anything for the good of the order before we adjourn the meeting?
Speak to us.
No, I don't, Mayor. Thanks.
Okay.
Get out of here.
Hearing no objection, we will adjourn and reconvene for a special meeting 1 week from tonight. So with that, we'll be adjourned at 9:25. 5 minutes early.
I have a report.
No, it's
No.
been there for about 2 years. I have no idea who